But then, you do MRI to make sure when they're half centimeter, you just cut them out, right? So these two daughters, as long as they stay with us, I can guarantee bet money against them. They will never die from breast cancer. So Tuesday, where this is actually a Nobel laureate, non-Hodgkin lymphoma. And in the morning, he came in and said, "I'm so healthy," But in the afternoon, we told him, "You have a very aggressive tumor in your lung." And so we use a specific software. So because this technology is so much better now today than ever, it's like an iPhone 16 camera, so much better than iPhone 1 camera, right? So Tuesday, we had a guy canceled on us. This is the best story I have ever heard. He canceled his appointment in our clinic because the day before he got the Nobel Prize. So this is actually another example of a Japanese American that he has a mutation called PCSK9. His father died of cardiovascular disease. His grandfather died of cardiovascular disease. And he's kind of doomed around 50-some years old to get cardiovascular disease. But there's now a drug called Lacaville. You do an injection every 6 months. I think he will probably live over 100 if he stay with us. This is the software we developed. Analyzing genome is very complex. Everybody say, "Hey, I can decode your genome." Genome decoded is like I give you a Bible. It's written in Hebrew. And if you don't understand Hebrew, the Bible is useless. It's a good decoration, but you don't understand anything. Genome is a SAM. If I give you 6 billion code, GATC, doesn't mean anything. It's a knowledge on the genome makes a difference. A lot of people oversell genome. If you don't go talk to people like Craig Venter of the world, we human beings only understand about 5% of our genome today. So if anybody tell you they already understand all your genome, that guy is a liar, okay? So we need next 30 years to add data to our genome to understand what this gene means for your genome. This is a case, we're developing algorithm to predict people's Alzheimer's. And so by using genetics, imaging, we predicted this UCSD professor 7 years ago, he will get Alzheimer's. Didn't believe us. And last year, he's officially diagnosed with pathological, Alzheimer's disease. But because there's over 100 million people in the world carries a gene, 2 bad copy of a gene called ApoE4. So if you have that gene, you have 20 times higher risk of developing Alzheimer's. But if you carry those 2 bad genes and you're diabetic, and you're hypertensive, your risk goes to 100 times. So, and we have clients has these 2 bad genes, they're 85 years old, their brain is perfectly normal. So gene is not your destination. Sorry, I will be done soon. So this is, so in the future, human longevity is really developing a longevity algorithm. Okay, so, we have a clinic. Our clinic is like a Tesla car. But what really behind these Tesla car is with years of data. For 11 years, we've been collecting data. So eventually we can democratize this to 8 billion people. This is actually, this is all the Mass General doctor has worked with us. Our future is genome is gone to $300 from 3 billion. And in the future, we think this algorithm can be serving billions of people. But right now, you always have to, so the other day, a friend of mine says, golf is a young man's game. I said, it all depends on your goal. So my goal is to beat Arthur Thompson on, shoot your age. If I'm 105 years old, I shoot 105. That's the Olympic championship. Tiger may not make to 105. Okay, so thank you so much. And yeah, so thank you. So how many people are you convinced you will live over 100? A few more hands. Thank you so much for your support.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mary. That was great. That was amazing. You had me until you said eat less In-N-Out burger, though. So I don't know about that. So our next guest is Dr. Nico. He studied over 9,000 brains. In fact, just as important as brains, he's got an amazing heart as well. So he he was on the Silicon Zombie show almost 2 years ago and completely stole the stage and was just he's a beautiful human. We're so excited to have him here. So please put your hands together for Dr. Nico Dimitriadis, all the way from Greece. All right.
Hey, hello. Before I start, let me and join me, please, in saying a big thank you to Nick, to Sandra for putting such an amazing event together. First time, and look at this. It's huge success. Well done. So I have just 30 minutes to change your brains. Okay. And hopefully, maybe help you live a little bit longer, a little bit better, and a little bit happier. Are you okay with that? Are we ready? At one point, I will also ask you to participate actively in the presentation. So get a little bit prepared for that. Now, this will going to be a big effort. You allow me to take off my jacket, right? You don't mind? Good. Thank you. Cool. So, I think Nick mentioned a couple of things about me. For the last 17 years, I have been applying neuroscience in order to predict behavior, mainly in business and education. We have measured more than 9,000 brains around the world, more than 350 studies and projects, both for business and academia. I wrote a couple of books, and I'm here to share, I think, the most interesting for me, 3 models. Actually, we will go through 3 models that helped me change my life and the lives with the people that I work with. So, let's start with the first model. Use your right hemisphere. You know that we have 2 hemispheres, right? In the brain, have you heard about this? So, what can we learn about these 2 hemispheres we have? It's like having 2 personalities. How does this look like? It's not exactly like that, because we don't have 2 sharks. It's like we have 1 shark and something else in the presentation. No, that looks okay. It's probably in your system something. Are we back? Yeah, 1 second. So 2 sharks maybe, 1 shark and, hold on, it's coming. Maybe. Maybe we did it on purpose, you know? Suspense, building suspense. So it's not actually 2 sharks, it's 1 shark and 1 dolphin. And we'll discuss which one is more important in a bit. So we all know about the 2 hemispheres, and we know about the 2 hemispheres not only because we always knew that we have 2 hemispheres, it looks like that, but what these hemispheres do. One of the early scientists that dealt with this issue is Roger Sperry, that did a lot of research with split brain patients. Have you heard of split brain patients? So people that had epilepsy, the solution to epilepsy for many years was to cut the corpus callosum. Corpus callosum is the fibers that connect the 2 hemispheres in order to avoid the electric storm from one hemisphere to go into the other and create a life-threatening situation. So Roger Sperry, studying these split brain patients, he kind of developed a very popular theory, 1970s, of what they do. And maybe you have seen something like this in popular publications, right? That we have 1 hemisphere that deals with science and 1 that deals with art, 1 that deals with logic and 1 that deals with emotions. Well, this is not true. Okay, so we now know that this kind of functional separation between the 2 hemispheres is not correct. Actually, both hemispheres seem to do the same things. They both have music. They both have emotions. They both have the way that they perceive and analyze the world. So it's not so much about what they do, but how they do it. Now, you promised you will help me with participation, correct? Great. So let's do this together to see how the 2 brains work. I mentioned that both hemispheres have music, but they have different type of music. So the left hemisphere has more rhythm. So when you hear a beat, the beat and the patterns of the beat live and they are expressed in the left hemisphere. However, melody, which is more, let's say, free form, live in the right hemisphere. So let's see, you are my left hemisphere. From here on, here is the corpus callosum, nobody's here. So you're like a split brain patient, actually. So from this side, you're the left hemisphere, you will do a rhythm for me, I will tell you which one, and you are my right hemisphere, you will do some melody, I will tell you which one. So ready for the rhythm? Okay, we will clap, so prepare your hands. Ready? Okay, so let's do this. Not very easy, wait for it. Bravo. You got it. Don't go faster. Keep it like that. Follow him. He's the director. Okay? Great. Keep it like that. You have a fantastic rhythm for a left brain. So we are the right brain. We don't have rhythm. We have melody. Ready to sing? Listen. Na, 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 na. Again. Na, 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 na. One more. Na, na. Na, 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 na. Bravo, well done. Fantastic collaboration between the two hemispheres. Fantastic. So you see, they both have music, but they do it in a different way. And we will see why we have these different ways. Okay, so it's like having two periscopes, two ways of viewing reality, because each hemisphere has its own agenda. They care about different things, they put importance on different things, and they see the world in a different way. So which is this different way? First, let's see our right brain hemisphere, or as we call the right brain perceptual system. First, it is in direct contact with reality. It receives this fresh stimuli from the environment. It connects us with the world and other people. It has a more holistic view of a situation. It understands concepts more than complex sentences. It loves metaphors, and its emotionally is more on the mellow side of the spectrum, right? So what is the difference with the left perceptual system? And this is the left perceptual system. It's quite the opposite. So it develops abstract models of reality. It lives in its own world. It does not prefer connectivity with people. Why? Why your left hemisphere doesn't like people and nature? Why it hates people and nature? Why do you think? Give me an idea. Preservation. So if it develops abstract models and it uses sequential logic, what is the problem with humans and nature? It doesn't fit because the left hemisphere loves control and predictability. And people cannot be controlled or predicted in the way that the left brain loves. Okay, so this is why it is not very close to people and nature. It's very fluent, skillful with language. It hates metaphors. Metaphors are ambiguous. They're not specific. The grass is always greener on the other side. Which grass? How green? Where is the other side? So it's very problematic. It has to be literally the meaning that you are expressing. It's fascinated by novelty, and emotionally is more towards the joyful end of the spectrum. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you a picture which is designed for your right hemisphere. And if you remember, the right hemisphere perceives the world in a gestalt way, which is all at once. While the left hemisphere, it builds like Lego blocks. You take Lego blocks, and one by one, it builds its view of reality. So the picture I'm going to show you, it's designed to activate your right hemisphere. And if your right hemisphere is activated, you have to see something. You will see it or you will not see it, right? So I will show you the picture. If you see something, if you see a pattern in what I'm going to show you, just raise your hand. Don't say it. Don't talk to the person next to you. Don't cheat in the exam. Okay, just raise your arm. So let's see. Okay, did you spot anything? Let's see whose right brain is activated at this moment. Okay, good. I'll show it to you once again. So either you see it or not. Okay, who can tell us what did you see? So what is there? Yes? A Dalmatian dog. So now I will help your left brain spot it, okay? Because the left brain wants step by step. There is a Dalmatian dog here. This is the ear, and this is the head that probably drinks something or licks something. This is the body. This is the front legs here, the back legs, and it finishes like that. Now you saw it. Do you see the collar? This is the collar, this is the head, etc. So actually, most of you needed some explanation for your left brain, step by step, to build up what reality is. Now, I will show you a picture designed for your left brain. Let's see how your left brain is activated. Anyone? Anyone? Okay. Now, the interesting thing is, what do you think, which of the two perceptual systems is more comfortable here? The right, correct. For the right brain, this is a very comfortable, even desirable situation. While the next environment I will show you is designed for left brain. Anybody's bedroom looks like that? Mine. Okay, so it looks like, and you know, this is amazing for the left brain because everything is seen. It's totally under control. Even a small fly can be spotted and dealt with, right? So there are corners, everything is clear. And it makes you wonder, our working environments are designed for which of the two hemispheres? You see how it's clear that we have a left brain dominated business, education, and overall society. What is natural in here? Maybe this, we don't know, maybe it's even plastic, or the apple here. It's all separated. You know, it's amazing. Maybe you've heard of, or a neuroscientist here, very famous in the US, Jill Taylor. She has a book called The Stroke of Insight, a very famous TED speech about that. She will also in opera. And she describes how when she was younger, she got a stroke while she was showering in the morning before she went to her neuro lab. And it is a fascinating story because the stroke was on the left hemisphere. So her left hemisphere went offline. And while she was undergoing through the symptoms of the stroke, she kind of placed her arm on the wall of the shower. And because the left brain was offline, she could not see anymore where her self was finishing and where the wall started. Because this kind of separation between you and the world is the left brain's business. Right brain's business is exactly the opposite, to connect you and help you feel whole with everything around you, right? So this is maybe a working space designed for the right brain. Anybody knows the company? It's Zappos in Las Vegas. Do you have in your company the clean desk policy? Right? Clean. You know what Einstein said? He said, if a busy desk is evidence of a busy mind, what is the evidence of an empty desk? So you have to have it like that. Okay, cool. So what does this dual perceptual system teaches us? It teaches us that we need to put people over systems. There is another famous scientist from the UK, Ian McGilchrist. He wrote a very thick book examining the history of the Western world from ancient Greece. I had to mention ancient Greece, of course. From ancient Greece till today, through different periods, examining which period was dominated by the left brain and which period was dominated by the right. It's a fascinating book. It has a deep historical perspective. And indeed, it brings us to the conclusion that today, and for the last probably 100 or 200 years, especially in the Western world, but increasingly all around the world, we have opted for a left brain world, which is fantastic because it helps us do scientific and technological progress fast. But what about emotional, personal, and societal progress, which is maybe the one that we are missing? So, people over systems. We need both hemispheres, don't get me wrong. The big question is which one is leading and which one is following. That's the key question. So, people over systems, relations over plans, and empathy over technology. Okay, so I'm sure that some of you have the following question in their mind, which is, okay, Nikos, it's fantastic. Let's have more right brain. But how? Anybody thought of that? Which brain actually asks the how? It's the left brain. So again, the left brain comes online and says, okay, fantastic, I bought it, but how? Okay, I will satisfy your left brain's curiosity of the how to do it. And I will show you a couple of models. The first one, and to introduce it, we will go to a Harvard study, is to connect emotionally with other people. I don't know if you've heard about this very famous Grant study from Harvard that runs for more than 80 years now. They took a couple of hundred people back in 1938 and followed them throughout their lives in different generations. Also lately adding as well, because they started with men back then, but they added also their wives and their children in order to have more variant results. And following these people all these years, what they found out concerning what their longevity depends on. It's called the Harvard Study of Adult Development. Let's see what matters. Close relationships. Do you want to live longer? Close relationships. Close relationships, more than money or fame, are what keep people happy throughout their lives, the study revealed. Those ties protected people from life's discontents, help to delay mental and physical decline, and are better predictors of long and happy lives than social class, IQ, or even genes. That finding proved true across the board among both, because they did a Harvard study, Ivy League kind of people, but they also took inner city participants, lower economic status. So these findings were true for both high status, high income, and low status, low income, which is fantastic. Okay, so do you want to live longer? Love more. Okay, when we gathered together everything we knew about them at age 50, it wasn't their middle-age cholesterol levels that predicted how they were going to grow old. No. What was it? It was how satisfied they were in their relationships. Anybody around 50 in the group? So if we did a thorough study of how satisfied you are with your relationships today, this would predict more if you would live longer, which is fantastic. The people who were the most satisfied in their relationships at age 50 were the healthiest at age 80. So now you understand, and he is the person responsible for the study, you understand why we live in a loneliness epidemic. Do you know that loneliness kills more than smoking a pack of cigarettes? That loneliness is more lethal than many of these behaviors that we were taught that actually are bad for our health. So, be warmer. Why be warmer? I mean, when you go through the study, you will notice that there is one word repeated constantly, and this is warm. So when we call relationships closer, we characterize them as warmer relationships. And indeed, you see in another article about the study, the 58 men who scored highest on measurements of warm relationships, both with their parents, but also today, earned an average of $141,000 a year more at their peak salaries than the 30 men with low scores. So warm relationships is what predicts a longer, healthier, and more successful, even financially, life. But what does it mean, a warm relationship? Do we have any definition, a working definition, a scientific definition that we can test when it comes to warm relationships? And indeed we have. So model number 2, warmth and competence. Have you heard of this model? It's one of the most robust models from social psychology. A year ago, the 3 authors of the original paper put a post on LinkedIn saying that it has been cited by 20,000 other studies. And why? Because it predicts 80% of your social behavior, and that had been tested in more than 60 countries. So it looks like a human universal, not a matter of culture or time in our development as a society. This is what makes us human. What is warmth and competence? Warmth and competence actually represent the 2 criteria that your brain is using to categorize people when you interact with them. Okay, in seconds. It's not halo effect, because the brain does it all the time. It's not that it will do it the first time and then it will keep it forever. No. Every time that I interact with you, my brain recalculates and repositions you based on these 2 criteria. Okay, what does the model say? And this is the original paper down. That warmth, if I interact with you and you demonstrate a tangible interest in my well-being, so you are here actually because you care and you want to help me, my brain categorizes you on high warmth. And it does this in less than 0.5 seconds. Okay? And it does this first, which is very interesting. So first my brain will categorize you in warmth, and based on the score of warmth, then it will go and categorize you in competence. Are you good in what you do? And based on these 2 criteria, I have a relevant emotional reaction and a different relationship with you. So actually, if indeed you love me, you care about me, you are here to help me, but you are not very good in what you do, I will have sympathy, but actually functional indifference. Okay, now the worst quadrant is if my brain realizes that you are not here for me, but just for you. So you are here for egotistical targets and purposes, and you don't really care what will happen with me. And at the same time, you're very bad in what you do. Your skills are very low. This is contempt and rejection, right? Imagine calling a call center to ask about something, and the operator is both rude and incapable in helping you. Okay. Or you call this call center and the operator is very warm, it shows that they care, that they love you, that they want to help you, but they are incapable of helping you. What would you feel? You would feel warm, say, hey, thank you so much, I understand you're trying, but can I talk to somebody else? Okay. Here is when there is low warm. This is a very strange quadrant, low warm, but at the same time, high competence. So you call the call center, the operator is very cold, they don't seem to care about you, but they solve your problem. How would you feel? It's a bittersweet feeling. Like you will say, okay, I didn't like how they behaved towards me, but they solved the problem. This is grudging cooperation, which means you will collaborate with them until you find somebody better. And the last and the best, of course, quadrant is when the person cares about you, really shows that they want to improve your well-being, and at the same time, they're fantastic in what they do. So if we go also back to the two hemispheres, warmth or competence, our Western societies are obsessed with, and we go to school and later in the university and later to companies. Which of the two we really put huge effort with kind of ignoring the other? Competence. And how do we teach warmth to our kids? Maybe we leave it to families. Maybe we are lucky they have a great teacher, but maybe we should see it differently. Maybe we should focus on warmth as much or even a little bit more than we focus on competence. Okay, great. So warmth over competence, care over skill. We need both. Which one is leading? So the last model I wanted to introduce you to is neuroplasticity. We've heard a lot about the brain today from many of the wonderful other speakers. And I'm sorry I had to do it. I'm Greek. So I will start with Socrates. We all probably, you've heard about this famous phrase, one thing I know nothing, which is very interesting. And although most of us have heard about this very famous phrase of Socrates, very few of us know why he said it. And you know why he said it? He went and he stayed with many of the top experts of his era. So people that were working with marble or building ships or weapons or carpenters. So he went to the best craftsmen of that time. And you know, Socrates was very annoying, asking many questions. That's why they killed him at the end. He asked too many questions, especially to the wrong people, which were the politicians of the age. Okay, so he was always asking questions. And he went and asked these top craftsmen questions. And he found out, when he asked them, what makes you so great, that these people were always open to unlearn and learn. Actually, they had the least rigid mindset than the others. And the lower the skill, the higher the arrogance. The higher the skill, especially in the top quadrant that he studied, the lower the arrogance. It's amazing that he found that what made people great is being open to learn, change, and improve. Okay, and most of all, admit that you can still learn and improve. And this is why neuroplasticity is important. Now, neuroplasticity is various phenomena in the brain. Actually, it's a very wide term that many times is misused. When we talk about neuroplasticity, we usually refer to these 4 different processes. Neurogenesis, we have new neurons being born in your brain. We thought up to 40. Anybody above 40? Okay, then we thought up to 60. Now it seems that new neurons are being born until we die, which is fantastic. New synapses, new connections between the neurons in the brain. Strengthening synapses, when you know something, you do it very well, and you are constantly reinforced positively that you are doing it well, it becomes stronger. And weakened synapses, when you don't use some of the synapses, your brain, when you sleep in the night, produces some proteins, some hormones, they go up to the brain and they go and they prune the connections that you don't use. This is why if you learned foreign language when you were young, and I'm trying to speak this foreign language with you, you will not remember a lot. Why? Because the brain said, okay, you haven't used these connections for a long time, and they kind of are energy demanding without the need. So let me prune them so I don't need to deal with them. This is what the brain does every day. So this is what we do. Unlearning is very important for learning, because weakening some connections is important for the brain to redirect energy to other connections, right? There is always a trade-off with the brain. You cannot improve everything at the same time. You improve some, you win some, you lose some. So I just wanted to show you, let's see if this works. There is a video online. Let me click once again. It seems that it doesn't work, or it works. Let's see. A very short video. Maybe. Let me do it once again. Maybe if you click it from there, will it play? Yes, it's close. Once more, I will click. No, it's okay, don't worry. It just showed, it's a very that showed on a Petri dish how neurons connect to each other. And while it looks like a very interesting detail, this is actually how your brain learns, by creating new connections. And we can see it now on the Petri dish and, of course, in other studies as well. It's fascinating. So how can we retain or even improve our neuroplasticity? Again, your left brain asked me this. I will respond. So there is a fantastic model called the hedgehog and the fox. What is this model that can help us become more curious and better with unlearning and learning? Okay, in 3 minutes, I hope I will make it. So we had this kind of mindset 100 years ago that the fox has many tricks, the hedgehog has one, but that is the best one. In Industrial Revolution, we wanted workers that could execute one thing all day. So you were in a production line, you had to, you had a hammer, you were hitting a nail. This is what you had to be good at. So we needed people with great division of labor, specialization, and absolute expert in the one thing that they will do from morning until night. But do we live in the same world as in Industrial Revolution? This is why Tetlock, a very famous researcher on the science of forecasting, in his famous book, he says, why foxes are better forecasters than hedgehogs. So actually, we changed the paradigm from admiring hedgehogs, ultra-specialized people, knowing to do one thing but greatly, to people that can do many things. So what he did, and let's see which one are you, what he did is he studied experts by asking them to predict the future in politics, in sports, in business, in economics. So he was asking you to predict the future, and at the same time, through a questionnaire, he was trying to determine which kind of mindset you had. So what he found was following. So how the foxes think, how the hedgehogs think. I'm sure you can spot such people in your working environment as well. So foxes are multidisciplinary. They don't care who says an idea. They care about the content, not the source. So if I'm from marketing and you're in finance and I come and say, hey, I have a great idea about finance. If your response to me is, but you are in marketing, what the hell you know about finance? Then you are a hedgehog. But if you say, I don't care about your background, I will listen and I will judge the content of what you say, then you are a fox. Hedgehogs think in silos. Okay, adaptable. The fox is very open for a new approach. They are okay of finding, or applying different methods at the same time to see which one it works. Hedgehogs, they are just one solution to fit all. They are self-critical, the foxes. They are even happy to say, it's a mistake. I was not correct, because it's a learning opportunity. While hedgehogs are always rigid. Actually, for a hedgehog, which will remind you the left brain, if their model doesn't work, it's not a problem for the model. The world was wrong. Okay. Okay, many economists think like that. Tolerant of complexity. Okay, I'm sorry. Tolerant of complexity. So the foxes see the world as a complex, dynamic, interconnected network of various events that maybe you will never be able to understand the whole of it, while hedgehogs are order-seeking. And foxes are cautious. When foxes talk, they talk like this. They will never say, this will happen 100%. They will say, most probably. So they speak in probabilistic terms. While hedgehogs, that is what will happen. I not 100% believe it. Many politicians as well. And of course, foxes are empirical. They see what's happening to develop an opinion. Hedgehogs, first opinion. So hedgehogs are more close to Plato. Plato was an idealist. He started with ideas. Foxes are more Aristotelian, because Aristotle was starting from being the first scientist, was starting from the empirical data and then drawing the theory. So, which one of the two did better predictions? In order to explain it, of course, and to present it to you, of course, it's foxes. Okay, and we increasingly live in a world where we need foxes. So give a score to yourself. Are you more a fox or a hedgehog? It's not, bravo, well done, great. It's not that we don't need hedgehogs, but the work that hedgehogs do can be either automated or outsourced. Okay, so be a fox. Okay, be a fox. Start always with questions, not with the answers, as a conclusion. Curiosity over certainty. The world is too dynamic, too complex, too chaotic, too a mess to have specific opinions that cannot change. Cognitive flexibility over rigidity. Be able to change, to acknowledge you had a mistake. Be able to be excited, even with pleasure, to accept criticism and a new solution. And if we do this, and maybe much more, at the end, maybe we will live happy and we'll have happy and healthier brains for longevity. Thank you so much. I think we did it for 1 minute, a little bit over 1 minute. Thank you so much. I love your brains. See you later.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nico. That was great. Before we bring up our next speaker, I just want to remind you all, we've got a lot of amazing companies in the lobby that haven't had the time to be up on the stage, and some who have. So if you have a sec, check out Stretch Labs, check out Market Me More, Shift Wave Chairs, check out the Vasper system. If you have 20 minutes, Jizen, True Binding, Echo Me, and Human Longevity. I had a bunch of people come up to me after Human Longevity presented and said, how can I learn more? Jim Dickey's outside. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dr. J.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you, Dr. Nico, Dr. Vivu, for wonderful presentation. And I'm here with a great science which was there at least 1,000 years before the father of modern medicine, Hippocrates. Can you believe that? The ancient wisdom, a path to holistic health. Now the question is, you know, as Dr. Vivu mentioned, it's not really health care now, it is more disease care. We need a prevention model, a longevity-oriented real health care. That's what we need. So if you really ask us about human progress, you will see that, hey, genetic fortune telling, AI for everybody, artificial embryos, lot of human progress. Science and technology is really progressing. Is it the real human progress? If you really ask that question, you will realize that, hey, while we say that we are progressing, then we should have more happiness, we should have more health, we should be at ease and at peace. Is that the story? No, that is not the story. You see the situation, the lifestyle disorders, the epidemics, right? The diabetes, metabolic syndrome, it is skyrocketing. These are all the facts. And 1 out of 3 children born in America are getting into childhood obesity. They may not live up to their parents' age. So is it real, the human progress, what is happening? You will see that, no, there is a gap. One side, human suffering is increasing. On the other side, we say we are progressing. Then what is the solution? What is the way out? Then you will identify systems like Ayurveda. How many of you have heard about a word Ayurveda? Wonderful, wonderful. So this is a system from ancient India during the Vedic period, 2000 BC, right? Much before the father of modern medicine. And when I say this, you may think that, oh, this may be an antibiotic identified or a medicine identified 10 years back, it is already obsolete. How can a 6,000-year-old system can be still relevant for today? I would say this system is much more relevant today than ever before. Why? Because this is a system built on the principles of nature, the sun and the moon and the wind and the plants and humans and all beings together. Everything in this nature made up of the same fundamental material, energies and consciousness. The inhalation, you know from where it is coming? It was a part of a plant body few minutes ago. The exhalation out, that will become a part of the plant body in next few minutes or few hours. Constantly, we are transforming into the nature, and the nature is transforming into us. It's a constant process. So we are not just us. We are an integral part of this nature. If we need to take care of ourselves, we need to take care of the nature, because we are an integral part of this nature. That is the fundamental principle of the science, Ayurveda. All the digestive, metabolic, immune, and healing systems are within the patient. Hence, patient is the healer. Nobody else can heal you. They all can create ideal material for healing, ideal energy for healing, ideal space for healing. Only the patient can heal. If there is a wound or a cut or a burn, without even applying any medicine, your tissue will heal. Who will create the new healing tissue? Only your body can create. Nature has all the resources to heal, nurture, nourish, and maintain the living systems. And we are the healers. Nature has all the resources. This system connects us with the nature in the right framework. And see this. The psycho, neuro, endocrine, immunology, the whole system work as a team, not separate teams, right? This morning, I was listening to the GOL3, the Galectin-3 discussion. And there is a drug identified. Great, it is wonderful. But what creates more Galectin-3, right? It is created by our own cytoplasm on free ribosomes. Why? Rather than going and, it's like this. A water tap is leaking and the floor is wet. You keep cleaning the floor. How long? Who is going to fix the tap rather than cleaning the floor? That is where comes the systems like Ayurveda, naturally identifying our whole system as one and the ability to heal. How we can invoke the healing. This is a system that mentioned about the pandemic in 600 BC. This is I've taken from Charaka Samhita. There's a chapter called Annihilation of Communities, Janabada Udvamsaniyam in Sanskrit. It says, unrighteous actions and decisions taken by individuals, groups, and leaders can cause contamination and alteration of the land, water, air that makes the living system more weaker and vulnerable, prone to disorders. Right? So it's a whole system. The nature works together. And this is the science of longevity. Ayurveda, the word meaning itself. Ayu means life. Veda means true knowledge. It is a true knowledge for longevity. So when Nick invited me here, I was thinking, oh, this is my topic. This is my science. Ayurveda is a science of longevity. The whole principle and whole guidance is how to live longer. Not to drag longer, but how to lead a quality life longer. Right? With a quality life. And why? To be righteous, to contribute to ourselves, to contribute to the world. And the success of our life is considered as when we are ready to transition from this world, we are able to touch our heart and say, I've done whatever I can. I'm so happy. Thank you very much. Not about the bank balance, not about the real estate. So here, Nico's presentation about the right brain and the left brain. Which brain am I talking about now? It is the right brain that connects everything. It is not the left brain is bad. We are not having enough right brain activities. We isolate ourselves. We feel that we are separate. This is time to connect. This is time to heal together. This is time to protect the nature. This is time to identify we are all a part of this one cosmic vibration. So, now, strength. Longevity comes from strength. Strength of what? Strength of the body, strength of the digestive and metabolic system, mental strength, and immune strength. How we can develop this to have optimal longevity? The options are three. First option is already done because it is innate, we born with. Second is acquired through our exposure, our diet, lifestyle, what we are getting exposed to every day. And third is logically created. Ayurveda has all the methodologies suggested to enhance that. This is the acquired strength, physical, mental, emotional, and immune strength. Acquired. You have three pillars to accomplish this in your life. Three ways which is available. One is called input. You know what are the inputs in our life? Food, water, breath, and perception. That's it. Only 4 inputs in our whole life from birth to death. Food, water, breath, and perception. Perception means how our mind takes and reacts to what we see, what we watch, what we hear. That is one option for you to live longer. Do the right way. Then the second is lifestyle. Lifestyle means what we do on a day-to-day basis, right? Our activity, our exercise, how we work, and all those activities come under the lifestyle. And the third is sleep. Can you believe this? One out of the tripod that holds the life in balance, one is sleep. Ayurveda says your sleep time is much, much important for your longevity than your awake time. Because from the time we wake up in the morning till we sleep, it's only wear and tear. Physical, mental, emotional, sensory wear and tear. The only time our mind-body system heal, recoup, rejuvenate, and replenish only in the deepest state of sleep, that too at night. Do you know that? By sleeping during daytime, you will not get the recoupment. Why? Because nighttime is governed by the cooling, nurturing, nourishing moon energy, whereas daytime is governed by the heating, stimulating sun energy. The subtle system like mind, nervous system, immune system, and hormonal system can only recoup and rejuvenate during that most calmer period at night. Okay? Living longer, sleep is so important. So this is about, the concept of fire within us, the digestion, the metabolism, right? Material in, material out. When we eat an apple, we say, oh, this apple is going to nourish me. What is the meaning of that? That means the apple is going to transform to me. The apple format will become a human format, right? That is why apple is nourishing you. Apple's meat become your meat. It transforms you. Who makes that possible? That's called the Agni. Agni stands for fire. Your digestion, your metabolism, your hormones all come under the system of Agni. Maintaining a balance of this is so crucial in the longevity. Next is the mind. We are so good in going exercise and counting the calories and measuring the protein intake every day. But this is the biggest problem in this modern world. We are all in a rat race. And to make that curve opposite, it's not easy. And you know, this influences every organ and every system. Whether you are in that space or this space, that make a huge difference in your inflammation. This creates a lot of inflammation, all negative emotions. But that facilitates healing everything. It's not about artificial, you are smiling at somebody. Your inner self is able to smile. The mind care is going to be the huge, most important factor in this 2024 and moving forward, because we are all busy. Immunity. Generally, immunity is considered as resistance against bacteria, resistance against virus or fungus. But Ayurveda says immunity is the ability of our body to resist any imbalance, any disease, whether it is internal or external. Immunity is the ability of our body to come out of any problem. So it's a core balancing mechanism that helps us to stay without any disorder. Due to some reason, if we fall into a problem, this will help us to come back. It's a core balancing mechanism. And how we can build this, right? It has all the elements required. And this is the key for longevity. Because whenever you get sick, that means your system is getting weaker. Then you need to recoup. The more times you get sick, the longer you are sick, your longevity is really getting affected by that. Because an optimally balanced and functional, strong system will sustain more. So this is a stress manifestation. Okay? Mental stress creates bodily disorders, and that in turn creates the mind. It is mutually feeding mechanism. Mutually feeding mechanism. And whenever I consult, I will always say stress level 1 to 10. Very rare to see below 5 these days, most of the people. So that means we are creating inflammation on a constant basis, right? And we are going behind this either cellular level or one chemical level. Whenever people with cancer come to me for Ayurvedic consultation, I tell them, let your oncologist chase your cancer cell. I'm going to chase you. Because ultimately they are to heal. Cancer is not an infection. It is developed by own body's mistaken intelligence. It needs to be addressed through the individual rather than, right? So that is the whole concept here. And these are the tools for nurturing health, the options: food, sleep, physical activity, breathing, mind care, and herbs and formulations. When you talk about herbs and formulations, nature has a lot of resources, okay? When we talk about longevity, there is a process in Ayurveda called Kaya Kalpa, that an individual go through that system purification and reset and take few specific herbal preparation according to the individual's need. And that can help them to reduce their biological age. And it's a few months of a process through which the sculpting the body, the Kaya Kalpa, that is a process that is mentioned in the ancient text where people can go through. This is one of the work I was a part of it about metabolic syndrome and Ayurvedic intervention, because the metabolic disorders are really affecting our longevity. So an Ayurvedic formula with a few herbs we created, and we have done work on it. It works on diabetes, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and hyperlipidemia, the cholesterol, and with the pure natural preparations. And also we got a US patent for that. And so we wanted to establish that this ancient system coming from the ancient Vedic tradition can also prove using the modern cutting-edge sciences. Now, this is, the National Geographic. This is our institution, Kerala Ayurveda, identified as one of the 100 places that will change your life. Identifying the whole system approach, understanding the mind and body are not two separate units. It is a unit working together that provides not only health, temporary health, but longevity. There's a whole learning process about understanding yourself. This is an empowering science that helps you to understand what is your core nature and how you can help yourself. This is the science that says 70% of your healing is in your kitchen cabinet and in your kitchen garden. Okay? The healer is within you. By making some rearrangement in the way you think, the way you deal with your day-to-day life, you can not only live longer, but you can have a quality life. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you. If you have any questions, anything, we have a booth. You are welcome to meet us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. J. That was great. Thank you. All right, everyone. We have a real special panel coming up. Before we start the panel, I want to bring up the moderator, Chris. Chris, could you come up here and join me for a second?
Sure thing.
Chris, how you feeling?
Pretty good.
You nervous?
Well, I do think it's really interesting that we're here at Ageless Evolution.
Yes, it is.
Because today is my 50th birthday.
That's right, everyone. He's here with us on his 50th birthday, so I'd like us all to sing Chris happy birthday. Join me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
All right.
So appropriate for today. Many, many more.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for doing this on your 50th. Please introduce your panel.
All right. So as you can tell, I have a lot of personal reasons for wanting to learn more about longevity. That's why when they asked me to come here, I said, you guys know I'm not a longevity expert, but I would like to live longer. So I figure that some of this is going to rub off me in osmosis. Hopefully that means that some of the medical degrees of our fine panelists are going to rub off on me. And so let's start with Dr. Tiff St. Bernard. Dr. Tiff, come on stage. I'll let our panelists introduce themselves, but Dr. Tiff is the founder of SoCai. And then also, I feel like this is a routine from a Chevy Chase movie. Dr. Harvey Castro of Help AI, come on stage. All right, so I am so excited to have you guys on stage. Why don't we just begin by having you guys introduce yourselves and your companies? Because I think that people really want to know how AI is going to help them with these issues of health and longevity. Dr. Tiff, why don't you begin?
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. So my venture, Sokai Labs, is focused on standardizing data capture and quantification of disease progression, initially focused on dermatological disease, and excited to talk more.
Excellent. And is that your natural hair color?
It definitely is.
There's a longevity secret there for sure.
And my name is Dr. Harvey Castro. I'm an ER doctor, been doing it for about 20 years. And I'm going to proudly say I just turned 52 today. Well, not today, but this year. So
Happy birthday.
since it's a longevity. But big picture, 3 things I do. 1, I'm having fun giving a talk on AI in healthcare. I wrote the first book on how to use ChatGPT in healthcare back in 2022. 2, I consult healthcare companies on how to use AI in healthcare. And 3rd, I literally create AI products. And one of the ones that we do for Help AI, we all have aging parents and loved ones, and you guys are here today. And I know some of you guys are taking care of your elderly parents, and you're nervous because you're like, oh my gosh, did she take her meds or did he leave the house? Well, what we have right now is a little monitor AI keeping an eye on the patient. And so if that patient just had surgery, he or she's going to fall, then the AI is doing predictive analytics that will text a doctor and a nurse and so forth. And then the last is next year, we will have this product at people's homes. So it'll be kind of cool.
Amazing, amazing. I'm glad you guys are giving Dr. Harvey a hand, because you may not know this. He is actually here speaking on this panel as part of his layover from his flight from, I think, Dallas to Singapore.
Yes. Yes.
So you came here from the airport to speak with us. And when does your flight take off tonight?
I think about 8 o'clock, 8, 9-ish, but I'm going to hang out with you guys and then head out. And hopefully there's no traffic, right?
That'll be a nice, I believe it's a 16-hour flight, 18-hour flight.
Yeah, it is. So it'll be fun.
All right. Well, let's get to the topic of longevity, but I thought it would make it a little personal to begin with, because we've talked about things like my birthday. I would like to hear from you guys about your own longevity journey. What kind of longevity history do you have in your family? And what is the over-under on how long you plan to live? Dr. Castro, why don't you begin?
So my grandfather is about 92 years old. So I feel blessed to have my grandfather. My grandmother's still alive. I feel it's the genetic portion, so I feel blessed. But then I'm taking advantage of my MD and coming to things like this to understand what are the factors that will help me live longer. So I'm personally wanting to live to about 100. I know my wife, when I tell her that, she's like, oh no, I don't want to be there that long. And so we'll see. I'm trying to.
Is it that she doesn't want to live that long, or she doesn't want you to live that long?
Very good question. You know, I hadn't thought of that. I may have to ask her tonight.
Dr. Tiff, what about you?
So I'm planning to live forever, but to be able to do that, I know that tracking and monitoring one's health is critical. So my grandmother actually lived until 98, and unfortunately she passed away due to what started off as a little bruise on her leg and delayed care, which ended up becoming necrotic. And then at 98, having to have your leg amputated, it didn't go well. And so being able to use AI to quantify or do visual analysis, I believe can make a major impact in our lives, from skincare to you name it.
Now, the great thing about being an entrepreneur is that you can have a brilliant vision for the future. You guys are executing right now with your various companies, but hop into the time machine. Sort of give us some look out into the future. What does the application of AI to healthcare look like in 5 years, in 10 years, and let's go all the way out to 20 years when I'm celebrating my 70th birthday at Ageless Evolution 21, or whatever the case may be. What's it going to look like 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years out? And either of you can start, whoever wants to.
Yeah, so I believe that preventative medicine is super important, and of course integrating Eastern medicine as well. And in the future, I see, of course, AI systems being able to be in our homes, monitoring us, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, hopefully motivating us to exercise, eat healthier, and as well as being able to let us know when subtle things are maybe going wrong and that we need to intervene and seek help and care. So hope that's our future.
So I hate glasses, but I put these glasses on to make a point. My favorite phrase of the year is, we don't know what we don't know, kind of relates to two speakers back. And so the future will be glasses. And you're like, what? That makes no sense. Here's why. I just took a picture of you guys. These are the Meta glasses. And one of the newer features will be memory. So I'm really bad about taking my meds. I can say, hey, what are my meds? So what does the future look like? It'll be this, but on steroids. It'll be down to maybe on my contact. It will have that information. But going back to my first statement, we don't know what we don't know. And my big kick is, if we can increase our healthcare IQ, that's why you guys are here. We're learning. I see people taking pictures. You're like, oh, that's something good. But what if I could just take a picture of my food, of anything that's in front of me, and it's starting to tell me risk factors and saying, hey, you want to live to 100? You may think twice on X, Y, Z. Tonight, you want to stay up late? Maybe want to sleep a little extra. I'm really big on wearables. So to give you a quick synopsis of what I see the future, it'll be something like this. 2 o'clock in the morning, my watch wakes me up because it's noticing something wrong with my heart. I literally like, okay, I'm up. What do I need to do? I literally look up and it connects me with the local ER doctor. The ER doctor is immediately able to talk to me. So that's a telemedicine. As I'm starting to talk to him, he's like, you know what, dude, you need to come to the ER. So then it sends the robo cab that we all saw last night. It comes and picks me up. And when I'm in the cab, there's sensors. So that sensor is now saying, okay, this guy is 70 years old. His blood pressure is XYZ. We need to give this guy an aspirin. So then it starts printing the aspirin. Now I take that aspirin. So there'll be things like that. And believe it or not, all the things I just said are here today, but it'll be a common thing in the future.
Very cool. I like this vision of the future. I think it's also good to do a little audience participation. Now that you've heard a little bit about both the longevity journey of our fine panelists, as well as their visions for the future, how many of you believe that you will live to be at least 70? Go ahead, raise your hands. All right. How many? I see a few people don't raise their hands. I'm like, oh my gosh, you probably have something that I don't know about. I'm sorry to hear about that in advance. All right, keep your hands raised. How many of you think you're going to see 80? All right, I like this, very optimistic. 90, 100, 110, 120, 200. Can I hear 200? See, this has got a couple of people. All right. So you've just seen, obviously, we're at a longevity summit. People are very excited about living longer. Dr. Tiff, you said you're going to live forever, which means you'll join our 200, our bicentennial folks here. Do you think that their perceptions are realistic? Like, what can we realistically look for in terms of longevity over these next few decades?
I believe that is definitely realistic. I see also in the future being able to, where maintenance is really important, where similar to like a car, we do an oil change to make sure that the engine is running well. We're able to monitor our health and being able to intervene and hopefully swap out things that aren't working. And I think a lot of the technologies to be able to do that are here or on the way. And so it's a bright future.
Well, what's an example of something that you think we'll just be able to swap out, like an oil change, in the next couple of decades? What would be an example of one of those replaceable elements, maybe a part of the body or something like that?
Well, I'm thinking more, one example would be like with genetic engineering and genetic testing, genetic engineering, as well as, I mean, of course, right now we're doing transplants and stuff like that, but being able to do it where they're creating it from your own cells, your own body, so that it's received better. I think everything will eventually be able to swap out, but that may take a while for us to get to that point.
Excellent. How about you, Dr. Harvey?
I think it's so important for us to take care of ourselves. Going back to my statement, we don't know what we don't know. So to that slide earlier, our heart, things that we can do now, because there's some things we may not be able to replace. I have a hard time thinking that they'd be able to extract my brain and take out my nervous system and give me another brain unless I go into the digital world, which you can talk to my digital twin later. But serious, I really think like your heart, your pancreas, your kidneys, all that stuff, we'll be able to eventually print our own 3D. I say our own, but we'll be able to create that. And I think that's why it's so important for you to take care of what you can now, because you don't want to be at age 80 and be like, well, crap, had I known X, I would have done Y. And that's why I keep saying we need to keep up with these kind of conferences, learn. On the geeky side, I'm going to say it's easy to do, and I'll tell you how to do it, but create your own AI agent that will send you emails to tell you how not to age. That way you're getting the latest research, and that way you know more. So that's just an example.
Now, I remember talking with you a little bit before we started, Dr. Harvey, and you said you have a website that already has a Dr. Harvey digital twin that people can talk with. Where do people find this?
So if you go on my website, Harvey Castro, MD as in medicaldoctor.com, I took about all my books that I've written. So there are about 18 books, all my PowerPoints, all my presentations, anytime I've been on TV, and I put it into my own RAG model. Think of it as my own ChatGPT equivalent, but it's on my own private server. And then I clone my voice, and then you can go on the website and be like, all right, what does Harvey think about aging? And so it'll probably extract one of my books that I wrote on it, and then it'll have a conversation. And then if you want to hear this horrible voice, then you can click the little voice thing, and then it'll actually speak my voice through it. So it's kind of neat.
One other question, just to make sure, we are at a longevity conference. Is everyone here up on all the AI terms that Dr. Harvey just threw at us in rapid succession? Everyone feel good? Anyone have any questions about some of those terms they threw out there? Or is everyone good? All right.
See, that's why I did it here in San Francisco, right? Because this is the home of this kind of stuff.
Awesome. Dr. Tiff, I was going to say if you want to add on to that.
No.
Okay.
Nothing to add.
Very good. All right. So now let's move on to the topic. Obviously, you guys have told us a little bit about the AI companies that you're building or helping to build and some of the things that they're doing proactively to help us improve our lifespan. So obviously, presumably, you've decided to tackle the things that are the most acute, that are going to have the greatest impact. But beyond the two companies that you guys are affiliated with, what are some of the things that are happening out there right now that have got you excited about the applications of AI to healthcare? What are things that other people are doing where you're like, wow, that's really cool, and I think that's going to have an impact?
So I'm really stoked about edge technology, looking at these phones, holding your iPhone, knowing that it will have Apple Intelligence, because I know personally I can start doing things. And for example, I could put some private information on my phone, and I know that I don't have to send that information to, let's say, ChatGPT, that I can create its own smaller models that'll be on the phone. So I'm really excited about having that ability. As a doctor, being able to tap into your wearables and be able to, like, you know what, you only average 6 hours of sleep, and last year when I saw you, you were averaging 9. What happened? And now having that data, but the more part that makes me even more excited is to link that with me in immediate time. So when I start seeing trends, to be proactive instead of reactive and saying, hey, I'm seeing you slip. You're okay right now, but you can't slip anymore, instead of waiting for a year or catching cancer way too late. And so I'm really excited because that technology is what's going to extend our life. That technology is going back to my first statement, it's going to increase what we don't know and know more of what we should know.
So I'm not going to name one specific company, but I'll say that I'm really excited about how I see all these different AI companies focusing on maybe different elements or different types of sensing. So, for example, I know a lab working on helping computers to smell. I know a lab focused on helping to listen to like coughing or when you scratch your skin or stuff like that. Because when they say your skin is dry or you have asthmatic cough versus regular cough, it sounds differently. And so like you can use sound to help see when things are changed. Companies like mine focusing on the visual side of things, being able to, and yours as well, like monitoring and tracking people in their homes to make sure that, there's not a fall or there's no like, adverse things happening visually, as well as the larger companies that are doing the LLMs and stuff like that. I look forward to the future where all of those are actually combined so that you can have like a really holistic analysis of what's going on the body, in the body, and be able to predict what outcomes may be if we don't change things.
Yeah, and I want to add to that because you just made me think of something. I'm curious. How many of you guys? Let me ask you a question. How many of you knew that based on your voice, I would know if you're pre-diabetic or not? So that's something new. So
wait a minute. Am I pre-diabetic?
let me run you off my AI, and then I'll let you know on private. Unless you want me to announce it on the Facebook or LinkedIn, we'll do it.
I think I'm okay. I've got some blood work recently, but yeah, I'd like to know.
And so how cool would it be that you're calling your doctor or you're on your conversation and your edge technology says, hey, you may want to go check this out because your sugars are running high and you may be a pre-diabetic, instead of going later for that annual. Maybe you don't go get an annual. Maybe it's 5 years later and you're like, crap, I've been a diabetic. Shit. But if you had caught it before and did some preventative medicine. And so I'm really excited about just the voice. They're looking at analyzing coughs, analyzing your voice for even depression. I know that one's a given, but that one's actually pretty good because, again, you're having a conversation with your family and all of a sudden the AI is picking up like, hey, are you okay? Is there something going on that we need to work on? You know, and I know I may say it jokingly, but I mean, that might save someone's life. That might change the outcome. That may get us to that 200 years. So anyway. Good point. I forgot about that.
Now, I don't know if you saw this. I saw this news item. It went viral today. A software developer who has the latest Apple Intelligence beta on his iPhone got a summary of the text from his girlfriends. And the summary read, the relationship is over. She wants her stuff back from the apartment. So we are going to have AI with us all the time, ubiquitously looking over us. And how are we going to manage the issues of privacy, of what's going to happen with our insurance companies? I mean, I don't want to be a doomer or anything, but what's going to happen as a result of this stuff?
So I believe that regulation always usually comes delayed, but in stuff like AI, it really needs to be at the forefront. I love how some organizations or hospitals and so on are making sure that they have like ethics panels or like other individuals at the table to make sure to minimize some of this risk. And data security is so important, especially if we're talking about health data. And so like edge computing, like you were mentioning, where the data is on your device and it doesn't go to a cloud and it's still being able to talk with you and interact with you and provide insights, I think is important.
Yeah, and I love what you said. And number one, I think we need to be transparent. If I'm a physician and I'm taking care of you and I have all this AI going on and you have no idea, then I feel like I'm doing you wrong. Unfortunately, in the healthcare system, we're so busy. We're signing waivers left and right. We don't even know what we just signed. And so some of that, unfortunately, says, hey, we're okay to using AI, and you don't know that. And so number one, I think we need to be transparent. Number two, if you really want to get deep into it, we really need to look at where's that data, because that data doesn't apply. We're here in San Francisco. There's stuff I can say, but that same data that I take to Singapore tomorrow won't apply. And so we need to make sure that we understand that just because ChatGPT or XYZ model works, it may not work in that region. And so there's so many more deeper implications. The last thing I want to say is this technology is growing exponential. We at best are going logarithmic. The gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And if we don't come to conferences like this, we're going to have a really hard time keeping up. So make sure that you're on top of it and make sure that your voice is there and you're the ones. And then the last thing I always tell my healthcare providers and professionals is like, we need you to be in the front lines with the tech companies and molding this. And I'm going to say that to the patients. You guys need to be with the startups and saying, no, 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 I don't want this product. We need to do it this way. Because if you don't, then you're going to leave it to somebody else that thinks they know better than you.
So I want to ask a quasi-personal question. I realize, of course, that the things that you do in your own life may not necessarily apply to the rest of us. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's metabolism is different, and so on and so forth. But here I have two experts on stage. I would like to know, what are the steps that you are personally taking for your own longevity? What are the things that you are doing that you think have the greatest impact? Because after all, I mean, I got these people on stage. You don't want to know what I do for longevity because it probably doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think no one's perfect, even though like many people know, exercise, eat well, do all the things, and you'll live to, 1,000, right?
There's no supplement that will just take care of it for me without
No.
any work?
Yeah, but so I do my best within the time, and being an entrepreneur is it's time consuming and takes a lot of energy out of us. So what I try to do is take a moment every evening to like stretch and meditate, and so that to try to regulate energy levels, because stress is a really big takes a big impact and toll on our lives. And unfortunately, that it's something that we all know, but sometimes it's like we feel like everything else is more important than working on, being in homeostasis.
Love it. For me personally, my brain doesn't stop. It's kind of weird to say that statement, but I'm always thinking. And so at night, I have a hard time just turning it off. So just teaching myself to turn it off. And then I purposely look at every time I wake up, see if I got enough hours of sleep. And if not, then I'm like, crap, I got to stay in bed and try to sleep some more, because I know it's going to help. Second, I know that my dad unfortunately died of a heart attack young. So I'm like, all right, I need to make sure I lose some weight. So I've been losing weight. So that's personal because I'm doing that. Then on the geeky side, since I have my own access to my own AI and I can secure it, I'm able to put core information and then put my dashboards of my watch and information and data and put it into the model. And then I'm able to have the model talk to the different risk factors and then give me a report that says, okay, Harvey, you're doing well this, but you're not doing this well. You need to work on this. And again, it goes back to not to sound like a broken record, but we don't know what we don't know, right? So if that data that I'm collecting on my watch forever, I don't ever look at it, but now if I tap into it and I'm sorry, I love AI too much, and then I add AI to it and then I explode it, man, now I'm doing stuff that other people are not, and it's able to take it to the next level. But that's just me personally, what I'm doing.
How many people here would like Dr. Harvey to productize what he's doing there and make it available to the rest of us? It really sounds like that is an opportunity for you.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to open it up to questions for the audience, but I'm going to give you guys one last chance, which is, what thought do you want to leave us with? Or alternately, where can people find you, follow you on social media, learn more about the things that you're doing, whether it's at SoCai Labs or at Help or anything else? And either of you can begin.
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Dr. Tiffany St. Bernard, and SoCai Labs is SOCAI. It actually stands for Standard of Care AI. And yeah, so we're very mission driven. And if anyone's interested in learning more, please do reach out.
Cool. And on all the social media, just type in Harvey Castro MD and you'll find me there. I jokingly say I live on LinkedIn. So if there's something there, just hit me up on LinkedIn. And on my website, for sure, I constantly put on YouTube stuff and funny stuff. Anytime there's a new gadget, I'll wear it. I'll dress up like some crazy man out there and promote it just to teach a point. But big picture, what I want to leave with you, and I know this is kind of a little on the deeper side, and I love what one of the slides today, and it said, it's all about relationships. We can have the genetics, we can have that, but make sure, and I know this is a little deep, but I'm going to say, make peace with your enemies, make peace with yourself, and you just know that we may not live till tomorrow. So make sure that you live every day to the fullest, because God forbid something happens, at least you gave back to your loved ones.
Wow. Love that inspirational sentiment. Okay. Is there anybody who has a specific question? We'll either get you a microphone or I'll repeat it back for the sake of any audience that's being recorded. So any questions you'd like to ask, go ahead.
I love that question, and I'll attack it first. The number one thing, and we hear it all the
we
time.
gotta make sure everyone heard the question. So
Okay,
the
sorry.
question is: are there any biases? How do you figure out something that is relevant for you for your particular situation?
Yeah, so I talk about AI all the time, but the number one thing is we got to keep a human in the loop. And that human for you would be that right physician. So a dermatologist, maybe not. Maybe it's an internal medicine doctor. Because at the end of the day, from a doctor's point of view, I'm just looking for trends. I'm not really looking for accuracy. I'm just looking for trends. Now, when these devices get better and better, then I'm really looking for diagnosis and stuff like that. But for political reasons, they're going to want to make this FDA approval, and then there's all this regulation. So that's probably why. But again, trends. So if, again, to that point, if I know that your XYZ genotype and we did your genome and this is you, then I know that this is okay for you, as opposed to maybe it's not good for him. So then that's why it's that human in the loop to make sure that I'm able to balance. There's not really no website or something that says always go to this. So it's really that's good for us for job employment, for that human in the loop to be able to help you out.
So just recently, I had a PET scan for my heart. I have a family of heart problems, and I just want to be proactive because I'm longevity and I have to feel blood. And I did it clearly, which is AI generated, where they infuse you with iodine, and you have these amazing pictures of your arteries. It shows the plaque, it shows everything. It gives you the score, and I was blown away. The reason I'm bringing this is not everyone can afford that. So we are talking about AI with help. But what can you do as pioneers, visionary, whatever we can call you, to make sure that hopefully everybody can access all this technology on top of the wearables, this technology to be able to be proactive and prevent disease.
Yeah, so the question is, how are we going to make all these amazing technologies accessible to as many people as possible, not just to famous doctors who have every device known to man?
Yeah, I'll answer that. So one of the main pillars of everything that we do at SoCal Labs is making sure things are accessible. So a lot of our analysis is done through a mobile device because everyone has a smartphone for the most part. And the way we build our systems is we have that in mind. So we're making sure that it's not only you can easily maneuver the technology, but also that it's easily digestible and understandable to patients that are not experts in the specific field. And I know that there are other companies that are also having that in mind. So for like at-home radiology, for example, imaging and stuff like that. And then able to have a physician in the loop so that you can still also get that expert insights as well.
And hold on for a second, Dr. Tiff. I think also you were maybe going to give an answer to the last question about cutting through the biases as well. So if you could take time to do that right now.
Yes, I don't remember what exactly what I was going to say, but but I did want to say that yes, bias is really, really important when building AI-based tools. Unfortunately, we have a history in the medicine and in research of trying to use just generalized patterns to make insights, which results in it not necessarily working well for certain demographics. Like, for example, I know there are some studies that have been focused on like looking at female or women-related concerns, but they used men in the studies because it was easier to access and easier to recruit. And so that problem of making sure that there's like equity and inclusion for the people that it's supposed to serve, I think it should be like top of mind and part of every AI business's goals.
And I know we only have, I'm looking at the monitor, we don't have much time, but I just wanted to say in 2 weeks, I'm doing a TED Talk, and that is part of my talk. Big picture, keep an eye out for AI used outside of the United States because there's a lot of regulatory things, and start seeing how they're applying AI. And I really think you're going to be shocked how other countries in the near future are going to start doing more things in AI. And you're like, wait, we should do that here in these States. So it'll be kind of fun. So anyway, I just want to thank you personally for having me. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, everyone, please, huge warm round of applause. Dr. Harvey Castro and the immortal Dr. Tiff St. Bernard. Thank you guys so very much. Our pleasure.
Thank you, guys. That was excellent. All right, everyone, it's time for another panel, and the founder of this event and everything is going to introduce our panel. Nick, take it away.
Two.
Great. Well, guys, hope this has been super valuable and you got to meet some wonderful folks tonight. So thank you so much for being here. So we've got Igor and Dr. Ramses, two fantastic brains, both on different sides of the coin. So Dr. Ramses, you're more focused on FDA biomedical technology approval and process and helping bring products to the market. And Igor, building web and mobile products across the board, but specifically in the medtech space, you guys have seen some great success. So why don't we set the table here? Maybe you guys could introduce yourselves for the audience real quickly. Dr. Ramses, please.
Sure. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm Ramses Galassa. I'm the CEO of GSE Biomedical. So we're a medical device design development company that focuses on pretty much any area of medicine. I mean, like we've done interventional cardiology devices, intensive care devices, orthopedic surgery, in vitro diagnostics, disposables, and you name it. So we've done anything from class 1, class 2, class 3 devices. For those that don't know the classification, it's about the level of risk of each one of those devices. And we've done that for FDA approval process. And so far we've had 4 FDA approval on certain medical devices, especially related to interventional cardiology and orthopedic surgery devices.
Very good. Excellent. You are.
My name is Igor Novikov. I'm the founder of the Innova company. We built software, specifically AI. We pivoted like 4 years ago into building AI solutions, mostly in healthcare space.
Well, Dr. Ramses, can we start with you? Tell us about those 4 devices. Like, give us a little bit more information on these that got approved by the FDA. And then after that, give us 1 or 2 that you're working on that haven't been approved.
Sure. I mean, we got plenty of those. But I mean, just to talk a little bit about, because I want to mention how these apply to longevity, of course. One of the first devices that we got approved by the FDA was this really cool technology about fixing tendon and ligament using a different technique. Like nowadays, I mean, most of the time, like from 50 years ago, when they repair a tendon or ligament in your tissue, they use suture. And the problem with using suture alone, just passing that through a tendon and just pulling down through an anchor screw, it's actually very detrimental to the tissue because you actually create a lot of tensile stress and shear stress on the tissue. So we changed that. We developed this really cool technology about distributing the load of the suture using a push down button, like a zip tie, kind of like a kind of button down, but it's also resorbable, and therefore the prognosis of or the tissue, the chances of that being damaged through rip through actually diminish. So we invented that about 7 years ago. So we got FDA approval so far, and so far we've done about 3,000 surgeries so far here in the United States. And that's a really cool device that we developed, and it took us about 3 years to develop that. We did a lot of extensive work on designing the polymers so that it could become resorbable. So therefore, once they apply that onto your tendons or ligaments, it actually resorbs within 12 weeks, which is the perfect therapeutic time for any tissue repair. And then it doesn't actually produce any side effects whatsoever. We've done 3,000 surgeries on that, and that's one of the devices that we have approved so far by the FDA.
And give us one that hasn't been approved. That you're excited about.
Yes.
Something that'll blow our minds.
We're working with next generation coronary metallic stents. And listening to one of the talks, I mean, they mentioned now the cardiovascular diseases, it kills half of the population. So we're working with coronary stents. Coronary stents is just a mesh of metal that actually gets introduced into your coronary arteries that expands so that it actually can allow blood flow to go back through normally. Now, the problem with that is that once they put a stent, which are now permanent metallic devices, it does not go away. It's non-degradable. I mean, 100% of them on the market are non-degradable. So, and what the problem with that is that it stiffens your artery permanently, and that's not very good because of blood flow pulsatility. So what we're working right now with a Canadian company is we're developing next generation coronary stents that are metallic but are also resorbable, meaning that they degrade, they dissolve, because we're actually inducing corrosion, controlled corrosion on that metallic stent. So therefore it disappears. So therefore it brings back the elasticity of the coronary vessel. Therefore you don't have that huge microvascular resistance down the end. That's one of the projects we're working on nowadays.
And I understand that there's some different companies that are using bioproducts like collagen, for example, to kind of rebuild.
Yes.
Yeah.
Biological scaffolds.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's change tracks a little bit, Igor, with you. So you guys get a lot of deal flow, a lot of different companies that you get to co-create with. What kinds of things are most exciting for you from a macro level? Like if you see different trends in the market, what kinds of products personally get you most excited to build in the future?
I'm an engineer in the past, and I should say that in the last 4 years, this is the most exciting thing that appeared was generative AI. We have never seen anything like that, because before that, if you think about AI, it was machine learning, which is basically statistics. So those are stochastic models. And even though that generative AI, like underneath, still uses the same methods, but the results are completely different, because they have what they call emergent properties, which means, like, with complexity, as those systems become more and more complex, they exhibit things that were not designed in them at all. So they like kind of appears by themselves. If you think, for example, nobody taught OpenAI, like you can ask OpenAI to explain a joke, and it will explain it to you. Like, give it a joke and it will explain it to you. But if you think, where on the internet, which was used to train the model, there's a website that explains jokes. There is it doesn't exist. So it can do that, and nobody knows exactly why. And I think it's kind of similar to the human brain. It's able to reason, actually. It's not just, people say, it's just like statistically predicts the next word, but actually it can reason if you think about it. And it's very different from anything we had before, and it's like unique. And like I see that a lot of regulators, for example, FDA has a lot of problems with that, because if you have a system like that, and they say, to approve that solution, we need it to be, transparent, explainable, traceable. But if you're dealing with a system like that, it's almost like, in a sense, like a human. And we don't ask like human doctors, like how transparent is a human doctor, or how explainable actions of like a human. The only way to explain anything is to ask the system to explain why it's doing that. But then, do you trust the explanation? It's not a math formula, so it's very, very hard to explain. I think that's the most exciting thing for me right now.
Partially because we don't really know why it's happening. So like historically, we've got these deterministic models, and it's kind of very cut and dry. With these emergent properties that are coming out, it's I guess inside the black box to some degree. So what are some different applications that are using these kinds of technologies that you've seen?
Right now, it's mostly, people try to build all sorts of AI assistants. For example, there's a company called Hippocratic AI. They try to solve the problem of, there's a shortage of nurses in the US, a significant shortage, and it grows every year. So they try to build an AI nurse that can, because if you think like 50% of the time that nurses spend is just like administrative work, scheduling, checking up on patients, checking up on medications, and that can be done by an AI nurse. It's not FDA approved yet, but that's, to me, that's right now is the most tangible thing.
It's tangible, but it also feels like the risk tolerance is fairly low. Like if we think like, what are the big, hairy, audacious goals that AI is going to solve? Well, it's probably the spaces that are in like maybe accounting or legal tech, right? Because the tolerance of risk or screw ups is like pretty much minimal, right? So compare that with like say like a call center. So what are the things that you think are going to be built in the next like coming years that may surprise us in this space?
That's a very difficult question, because right now we are in what called the tornado moment. Like there's a tornado effect. And we are in the eye of the tornado because we don't really understand, because of that, we don't really understand the scale of changes going to come in the next 10 years. So the speed of adoption seems slow right now, but it's going to I think it's going to change dramatically in the next 10 years. My prediction is that a lot of mundane repetitive work is going to be automated using AI, and especially around administrative tasks that do not require as you said, low risk. They do not require significant knowledge.
Would you include like walking the dog and these like kind of administrative tasks?
It's surprisingly the work of electrician or plumber is really hard to automate.
The dirty, the dull, and the
Yeah,
dangerous. What do you think? What do you think about this, Hillman?
Fascinating. I have another question for Dr. Ramses. There's so many entrepreneurs here, and there's so many people in the medical industry here. You got to take us through what it takes to get FDA approval, step by step.
Ouch. That's a very tough question, but I'll give you an answer.
And yeah, and if there's some tricks, and if there's a fast track, give us the story, because this is something that no one ever talks about.
That all depends on the classification of the device, because you can actually have devices that may look like medical devices that are not medical devices, and then you're able to commercialize them immediately.
Give us an example of something like that.
A wellness device, such as a massage chair, or something that is not intended for a very particular therapeutic purpose. That is a wellness device. So that does not have to go through the regulatory process. Then you have Class 1 devices, and Class 1 devices are low risk devices. I mean, something can still go wrong, but most, the damage, if something goes wrong, the damage to the patient or the safety to the patient is minimal.
Give us an example of that.
Actually, we were working on a Class 1 device, which is actually an instrument, a surgical instrument to remove broken screws inside the bone. And that if that thing breaks, it does not really affect the patient. I mean, you use another one and that's it. So, and the level of risk comes in when you sterilize the device. It doesn't really matter. I mean, the patient's not going to die because of that. So
that'd be good, because Human also has a couple screws loose, I would say.
So, all right. So that would be a Class 1 device. Go ahead.
I mean, what a genius, huh?
And so let's get back.
Hold on. Let's hear the Class 2. Let's hear the Class 3.
There's Class 2 and Class 3.
Yeah.
Class 2 devices are something that is of a mild, moderate risk. I mean, like something can go wrong, and yes, the patient could still die, but the probability of that happening is still minimal. Nevertheless, anything that gets introduced into the body, it's most likely a Class 2. It's a rule of thumb, because not everything that goes into the body is a Class 2, or not everything that is outside the body is a Class 1.
So do you have an example of a Class 2?
A catheter. When they deliver a stent, a catheter is the perfect example of a Class 2 device. And then there are Class 3 devices where, by rule of thumb, they're generally implants, like a stent, a coronary stent, a heart valve, a pacemaker, or an orthopedic joint replacement. Something, anything that is actually permanent in the body is most of the time Class 3 devices, and therefore the level of risk is significant.
So generally speaking, how long would a Class 3 take to get FDA approval? Generally,
about 6 years, 7 years. But no, it's not the FDA fault. I mean, the development to get to the all the documentation that's needed to do the submission is what takes a lot of time.
What if AI could help get through those processes faster? And maybe you guys could work together on that or something.
I mean,
right?
it definitely will. We do see a trend of getting more relevant data, into the system, so that we can actually create these files for submission much quicker with more relevant data. But all the FDA cares about is safety and efficacy. Since it takes you years to prove the safety efficacy of any medical device.
And so for Class 2, how long does that take roughly?
About 3 years.
And Class 1?
About 1 year.
Oh.
Yeah.
And how many Class 3s have you guys got approved by?
A couple of them. I mean, we're working with 3 of them, but we got one regulatory approval on a mechanical ventilator that we did during COVID. So that's a Class 3 device that we developed in record time.
And I know maybe for your work, it's not proper to say anything bad about the FDA.
Right.
But let's not say anything bad about them. If you could give them a suggestion of how to improve, what would your suggestion be for the FDA?
Actually, we do think that the FDA it's a role model for many other countries. I would say I would say that they have very good progress. I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's certainly one of the best in the world because we have developed medical devices for other countries, and their regulatory bodies or agencies are way behind. So I would just do the comment to the other regulatory bodies instead of the FDA. But I mean, it can be improved. Yes,
10
in
for
terms
10
of
on
timing.
diplomacy.
Yes.
Yeah, 10 for 10 on diplomacy.
Yes.
There's nobody from the FDA here, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know that actually, but
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about personalized medicine and
Sure.
personalized devices, because like we know this is a trend, but can you kind of double click on that for us?
Yes. So to give you an example, like I was just mentioning, we're working with this cool technology in which we can reconstruct the coronary plaque. The plaque is the obstruction that you have in your coronary vessels. And now we're doing that as a patient-specific methodology. I mean, we're doing reconstructions using intravascular ultrasound or optical coherence tomography, and we're doing a really cool 3D reconstruction and analyzing the tissue, what's happening around, and this can certainly take be taken advantage with artificial intelligence to do the 3D reconstruction of the coronary plaque. Therefore, we can develop a custom-made stent for that particular patient so that it actually can deliver the results that we're after. So everything in the future about medical technologies is going to be patient-specific technologies.
Igor, you ready? I want you to talk to me about AI assisting and optimizing the experience for patients. How do you see that coming about?
Well, that's what I mentioned, because right now the industry is very careful when they talk about the AI automation. They always say, it's not going to replace the humans. It's going to, augment the providers. And some people believe that. Some people are just saying that because, that's the thing to say. So people do not panic prematurely. So there's a lot in the U.S. healthcare system, at least. There's a lot of resources are going into administrative tasks, and just paperwork, scheduling, just working with insurance companies and so on.
What do you think that says about us, like as a culture? Because back in the day, like in the 50s and 60s, there was 4 administrators for every doctor, and now I think it's like 40 or 50 to every doctor.
Yeah, I mean, one of the previous speakers already said that. I think that's because we are a left side, like brain society. We need order, so everything must be in order. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's just, it might be just too much right now. And in a sense, it doesn't have to be performed by humans, because nobody actually wants to do that work. It's just because it needs to be done. So that, and if you went to a provider recently, like to a doctor, you know that they stare at the screen instead of talking to you most of the time, right? Because they're filling out the forms in the system they have, and it does need to be that way. So AI can actually solve this, because automated note taking, for example, or scheduling. AI can do that, and it's a low risk hanging fruit and doesn't require FDA approval.
Igor, can I ask you a question? Can you clarify what your company is and exactly what you guys do?
We build AI solutions, AI-based solutions, including machine learning and generative AI for healthcare, wellness, and similar type of companies.
So can you give us an example of something you've built for a company that's sort of being implemented right now?
A good example would be a concierge service or a fitness coach that works augmenting actual coach. So it listens to right now people mostly talk to their coaches in the chat. So it listens to the conversation, and then the coach is offline, off hours. The client can still talk to the coach because the AI knows the previous context, the previous conversation, so it can deduct more or less accurate what would the real coach say. The client can ask what is the training routine for me right now, and it's 10 p.m. So it can give a decent answer.
So Dr. Harvey had mentioned RAG, so retrieval automation generation.
Right now, yes.
Can you explain what that is for me included, actually?
So right now, the generative AI, the models, they're limited in the context window, which basically short-term memory that they have. And to answer any question, you need some kind of context. So not all context can fit in this context window that they have right now, although the context window expanding every month, basically. So to augment that, we use RAG, which is basically retrieval augmented system, which is a crutch for the AI. It's basically a crutch in terms of it serves as a memory for the model, so it can remember stuff.
Now, is that the learning or is that the inference? Because we
It's
know that these
inference.
AI models have two main parts, right?
This is inference, and in RAG, usually there's a vector database that is used like as a short-term or long-term memory for the model. And I think it's going to go away, like in several years, because it's really, it's only because the models right now are not big enough to fit all the required context.
All right, Dr. Ramsey. So you've spoken. There's people in this audience that invent things. Somebody comes to you and says, I loved your talk. I desperately want to work with you in your company. What boxes do they need to check to be able to work with you?
First box that they need to check is that they need to be aware that this is a long-term thing. I mean, regardless of the classification, the first step that we always do is that we give an expert opinion on what's the classification under the FDA. And because that determines about 90% of the regulatory pathway and 90% of the cost of the entire project. And it's usually, and we start working with them from the very beginning, and then we start developing, like the design phase, which includes, design controls under certain certifications like ISO 13485, which is, it just like dictates a series of steps and documents that are going to form this document called the device master record and the design history file. Those are the two most important documents that we need to submit to the FDA. And we help them and guide them through all the steps that need to be taken in order to achieve a successful medical device project. But one of the nice things, even though this is a long-term thing, it's like if you start a company that, related to medtech, your valuation is going to go very high as soon as you get FDA approval. I mean, like 10 times the value of the company. So that's very appealing to a lot of medtech startups and entrepreneurs.
You guys also have a growing market. Like there's over, 10,000 people every day that turn 65, at least in the US. So it's a growing market that you guys are in too.
Yeah. All kinds of medical technologies is one of the few markets that it never stops growing. It's always growing significantly because people are getting older and therefore they need more medical therapeutics.
So for every 10 companies that come to you and say we want to work with you, how many do you say yes to?
About 3 or 4.
Oh,
yes.
That high?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say 1 out of 100.
Well, no, actually, we want to help those companies get funded because we act as like due diligence agents. I mean, like we evaluate the technology, we determine the feasibility of it, making such a project, and we help them get funded. I mean, even in the early stage of projects.
And how often do a company comes to you who's funded?
1 out of 100. maybe more, maybe like 5 out of 100.
So
yeah.
You probably really appreciate working with deep tech scientists who have some kind of unique quantum unlock, but need to stay in their lane and just continuing to develop product and have you guys be something of like the guide rails to get them through that process.
Yes. I mean, one of our roles is to educate them on how to properly form these medical device companies, because a lot of what I see very often is that they start to develop this cool medical technology and they think they're at a very late stage of the development. And once they finish the prototype, the minimum viable product, they realize they skip so many steps for the regulatory process. So they need to take a lot of steps backward, and that's what actually ends up breaking the company, or it's very costly, very expensive to go back. So we try to help them from the very beginning, at very early stage, on how to properly develop any medical technology and make it successful.
All right, we have time for 2 more questions. So if Carolee is ready, you're going to be next on stage. Igor, you ready? What areas of healthcare, in your opinion, are going to benefit the most from AI?
Right now, the areas that do not require FDA approval first, but in the end, I think that's tailoring healthcare and like care in general to the specific person, because we don't have enough scale to do it with like human labor. But if we can automate that using AI, we can really tailor it to like even on genetics level to a specific person.
And in your opinion, from all of the different medical companies out there, including pharmaceuticals, who in your opinion is using AI the best? Is there one company that you're sort of watching that you're like, wow, they're really on the cutting edge?
Don't say NVIDIA.
Actually, I think it's Palantir. Because they have AI for hospitals, AI for clinics, and this is a holistic system that can manage the whole hospital. I think that they have at least as far as I know, the best solution right now.
And do you see yourself working with them in the future?
Not really, no.
Well, Seton Medical's here, and with Tim Schultz, we've got some really bright people that are pushing the envelope in that direction. So definitely should connect with these guys. So.
Do you want to give us the final question? You have a final question?
Yeah, I guess, how can we be helpful to you guys? Like, we have all these wonderful people in the audience, and you guys have been so generous with your time. So maybe take 30 seconds each on how we could move the needle for both you gentlemen.
Okay. Well, for us, I mean, we'd love to talk to each one of you. I mean, if you have a really cool project or idea that you want to develop as a medical device and medical startup, I mean, I'm all ears and I'm willing to hear you and give you a few insight or explanations on how to properly go and make that project successful. That's what I'm here for.
And as I said, we're building AI solutions in medical space. So I'm really interested to talk to anybody who's like thinking about building a solution here or starting a startup in this area. So this is like our specialty.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time. Dr. Ramses, Igor, thank you so much.
Great talk to you guys. Cheers. Thank you. All right, thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We have a few more speakers. Our next speaker is Understanding Disease and New Therapies. Please welcome Dr. Carolee Barlow. Thank you.
So it's great that all the speakers just came before me, kind of set me up for this talk. So I'm actually going to talk about Parkinson's disease, and Parkinson's disease has already been mentioned twice today. And I'm also going to talk about a wearable device that's being used to help patients better care for themselves, but also reduce their fall rate, etc. This is a 510K cleared device, and we're working to make another component of it that will help with even more of what's going on. So a lot of what you heard everyone talking about, this is the real world implementation of that. So it should be interesting. So I am a clinical strategy advisor to Rune Laboratories. It is a AI machine learning company started by a group of data scientists and neuroscientists coming out of UCSF, Google, Verily, etc. It's only about 6 years old. I've been helping them for about the past 6 years. And what I really like about this company that has made me excited to be part of it is that they really focused on neuroscience of everyday things. So it's an incredible group of data scientists, an incredible group of neuroscientists, and they're applying all of their knowledge to try to use things that are part of your everyday life to help people who are unfortunately burdened with a severe neurological disease, Parkinson's disease. So that's why it says neuroscience of everyday things. So what's really fascinating about this company, I think, when I first got involved with it, is that they built their platform and their machine learning off of data that comes from invasive recordings inside the brains of people with Parkinson's disease. So what the theme of today's talk is how can we non-invasively measure the same things that we built the platform on by having electrodes inside the brain and then monitoring it while the patient was moving around. So we started with extremely invasive monitoring that was part of their therapy, deep brain stimulation. And then we built the platform so that we could do the same thing off of the Apple Watch and the Apple phone worn on your body. So we went from highly invasive data to non-invasive data, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So the invasive data is coming from deep brain stimulation, and the non-invasive data is coming from a platform called Strive PD that's built simply off of the Apple Watch and the Apple phone. So no unusual devices are necessary. And we really wanted to do that so that it would be user-friendly to the patients. If you go to the next slide. So this is actually how we got the data. Whoops, I'm in charge of that. Hang on. Okay. So basically, when we started, we were using wireless streaming of a person's neural recordings while they were at home, and then use that for the adaptive stimulation. So that's on the left. How does that actually work? So a patient with Parkinson's, once the disease progresses to a certain stage, the dopamine that you heard about earlier doesn't work very well. So they have to keep increasing their dose more and more, and then it causes a side effect called dyskinesia. So when you think of people like Michael J. Fox or Muhammad Ali who've had Parkinson's, a lot of the time they have a very difficult time initiating movements, and then they have a tremor. That's Parkinson's disease. But when you see people moving like this and in these very weird ways, that's the side effect of the dopamine that they're on to try to stop the tremor and help them move. And that's called dyskinesia. And at some point in the progression of Parkinson's, it gets so difficult to manage that deep brain stimulation is the way you fix it. And what you do is you actually implant electrodes into a specific part that's deep in the brain. And you also put recording electrodes on the surface. And then you have a device that's here that turns on an electrical current that then shuts down a certain part of your brain that causes the dyskinesias. And so this is a very significant invasive neurosurgical procedure, but what's amazing is that we can record as well as take that information, give it back to the sensor and say, this patient needs more stimulation or less stimulation. So the whole beginnings of the company was to try to do adaptive design and circuitry changes for the patient while they're in the home. So basically this is what it looks like. So these are the recording electrodes on the top of the brain, and then the stimulating electrodes are more central. And it comes out of there through telemetry to a Bluetooth to the computer, and we are processing the information. And these are the examples of some of the waveforms. This is massive amounts of data. I can't even explain to you how much data your brain generates in just 10 minutes of recordings. So this is why this platform is so powerful. It was really built off of these massive data sets coming straight from your brain. So can you make that movie run? So this is just a movie where we're recording the brain activity after the implants. And we're doing it while the patient's doing their regular things at home. And they're wearing an Apple Watch, which is sending information about their tremor and their movement at the same time as they're just walking through their house, showering, etc. But we're also getting the information from their brain of exactly how it is functioning. And that's the basis of the machine learning platform, which then allowed us to get really high quality ways of processing the Apple Watch, which then allowed us to get the 510 clearance from FDA. So that's basically the foundation of the platform. So we can go in and classify the patient's brain state. We can record the neural signals, and then we can control the stimulation patterns off of the device, and then ask, did the Apple Watch tell us that the tremor was getting worse or the tremor was getting better? So this is quite unusual for a wearable technology to have its platform built on the way your brain was actually sending a signal to us. So why is this cool? So we can take these three things now and build a platform, which was called Strive PD, where we can look at all of their activity data, not just with the watch, but with the Apple phone. And also we have a platform so we can keep track of all their medications, when they're exercising, when they're going to their physical therapist, etc. And this is what so here's your watch, and here is your iPhone, and we can do all of these things and log the symptoms. We can capture exactly if it's tremor, dyskinesia, if they're having a hard time walking. We can also gain insights into how well they're doing at home. Some patients don't do so well on the weekdays because they aren't eating regularly and their medications aren't getting absorbed, and then they do better on the weekends. So that's going to be information we can get that can help them. We can tell them what's happening with them. And then we can also start to see when they're having issues. So I think someone was mentioned, Dr. Harvey was mentioning it about someone at risk for falls. Well, Parkinson's patients are at high risk of falls. And this is one of the things that we want to be able to let a patient know things are changing. You may be at risk. And I'll show you how just recently we've proved this whole thing out with Kaiser. So this is basically what I put these slides in to try to show you how simple this is for the patient. Because when you're a patient with a neurological disease, having a lot of things that make your life even more complicated just means the patients won't do it. So in order for this to work for patients and for healthcare providers, it needed to be very simple and very user-friendly. And that's why we work with the Apple Watch and the iPhone. So on the top is sort of the way the information comes in. So you see all the running, swimming, et cetera, et cetera. All of that is coming off of the health kit from your iPhone. So you have your iPhone, you have your health kit. We get all this information. We just get it raw. We also have the watch, and that's really where we assess tremor and dyskinesia. And again, it's just the watch is tremor and dyskinesia, and mobility is the iPhone, and you're wearing it in your pocket. You have to have it on your body. The information comes into the cloud through the platform. AI is applied to it. The Strive PD platform is also asking you to make sure you log when you took your medications, et cetera. And then we can basically generate what the patient was doing and how they were across the entire day. And then we can watch ourselves and see how things are changing for the patient. This is happening at our end, the top part. For the patient, all they do is open their phone, say, oh, okay, I'm going to do Strive PD. They click on it, they opt in, and we just start recording them. They fill out their medications. If they've had a change in medication, we ask them to tell us, and then everything else just happens behind the scenes. And then every month, the patient gets a report on their phone that tells them how they're doing overall. How's their tremor doing? How's their dyskinesia doing? Are they having an increased risk of falls, et cetera? They can have more than one report a month if they want, because it's always being generated behind the scenes. But we find that most patients don't want to look at things every day. They want to see overall trend. How have I been doing the last 2 weeks? Or say they're getting ready to go to see their doctor. They really want to look at their report so that they can say to their doctor, this is what's been going on. So this is essentially what's been happening. So it's taken the team quite some time to build all of this out, get it 510K cleared, and we're working on the iPhone getting 510K cleared for the mobility applications as well. But we wanted to see if this really worked well in real life. And for that, we partnered with Kaiser. And my last slide is shown on the next slide, which again, I'm supposed to do. Sorry about that. So this was what we were hoping to do. And in fact, we just have been proving out the case. So we partnered with Kaiser with the Apple Watch and the iPad or the iPhone. And we basically said, look, we're going to take all your Parkinson's patients in 7 of your main clinics, and we're going to put them on Strive PD, and we're going to start to tell them what's going on with it. We're going to use this platform, and we're going to tell them what's going on with their healthcare. And then we're going to set up an opportunity for your physicians to see the data so that they can make adjustments before the patient may need to come in, or maybe make an adjustment so the patient doesn't have to spend an hour and a half getting from their house to Kaiser and then an hour and a half to get back, because a lot of patients with Parkinson's driving isn't that easy, so it can be a major problem for them getting to and from their doctors. And so this is what we did, and this just came out. So this is just one simple example of one of the metrics we're looking at, and that is how many ER visits has a Parkinson's patient had to have typically over the span of time. And most of those ER visits are generally due to falls, or they're due to issues having to do with GI problems that are associated with medication mismanagement. Having to just do, like, the patient had grapefruit juice and forgot about it, or didn't know there was grapefruit juice in something, and now all of a sudden their medication is not absorbed, so then they're having a lot of struggles. These are things we can take care of on the platform because we can track it and we can notify the patient. And when we did that, if you look at the blue, that's before they had been on the platform. And the green is what happened once they'd been on the platform. And you can see we already have an almost 50% decrease in the number of ER visits that patients are having to go to. And this is the only data slide that I wanted to show you in terms of this, but we've also seen that we can also reduce the number of times the patient has to go to emergency visits with their movement disorder specialist or their neurologist. So the patients are actually getting more empowered to take care of themselves and avoid having to go to the doctor, which is also driving down the healthcare costs, which is also improving the system as a whole. So this is the main part of the talk I wanted to talk about, having to do with how we can help with patient care with wearables and machine learning and AI. But I'm also a pharmaceutical executive, so I'm generally the chief medical officer in pharmaceutical companies. And I think the question came up from Nick, what could you do to help get drugs approved faster? So devices are slightly different than drugs. We have a very long regulatory pathway, which in general is 13 years instead of 6, so it's very long. And one of the things that we've really been working on in the company is figuring out ways how to do clinical trials where patients don't have to come into the clinics very often, and we can get continuous monitoring of how they're doing, which gives us richer data sets, which can allow us to do smaller clinical trials. And that's the big area where we want to focus next, is how do we start working with the regulatory agencies to help them really understand and accept this kind of technology as a surrogate of having to do things the old-fashioned way, which, for example, if you're a patient with a disease and you're taking your medication in your clinical trial and you go to see the clinic doctor once every 3 months to see if the drug is working or not, you get a snapshot of how you're doing at that one visit. If we can use the wearable technology, we can follow that patient every 24 hours a day for 3 months up to that clinic visit. And then we can use that data to augment, understand if there's a better response between the placebo and the drug, because the data sets are massive now. They're not like a little snippet, it's everything. By doing that, the standard deviations are going to be lower. We can use fewer patients for the clinical trials, and that's going to be a major cost savings, which then will bring biotech dollars back into it. Because for every patient in a clinical trial, it costs about $100,000. So if you're doing a clinical trial of 600 people versus 60 people, the money is completely different. And that's a big impediment for us to develop new drugs, is how much money it costs to do these clinical trials. So that's kind of the next thing that we really want to do. And I will stop there.
Check, check. All right. All right, we have a very special speaker coming up, but he needs a couple minutes to get ready. So I'm going to remind you of what's in the lobby, in case you haven't. Has everyone checked out the companies in the lobby yet? Have you guys? Okay. Is there any favorites? Is there anybody that anyone likes in the lobby that we should know about? Just shout it out. The chairs, the shift wave chair. How long did you sit in the shift wave chair? 10 minutes. And how's your body feel? Amazing. Did you try the Vasper system? What did you think of the one that cools your body while you work out? And? Amazing. Listen, has anyone on this side done shift wave or the Vasper? And? Thank you. It's Nick, everyone, the founder. Anyone else on this side do shift wave or Vasper? No? Okay, listen. Do shift wave and Vasper before you leave, please. Is there anybody else in the lobby that we should know about that you guys have tried? Anyone? No? What? What did you say? No? No? Nobody? Okay. Well, let me tell you who's in the lobby so you can go check them out. Give me 1 second here. And let me know when you guys are ready. Are you almost ready? All right, so in the lobby is Stretch Labs. You can get stretched for free. If you're feeling tight, did you do it? This woman's done everything outside. What's your name? What's your name? Mimi. Thank you for trying everything. You're taking advantage of this. Market Me More. Did you try Market Me More? All right, check them out. She said shift wave chairs, Vasper system. Check out Jizen. Jizen is an amazing group, and they're in Mill Valley. They do every type of integrative medicine you could possibly imagine. One of the doctors that's with Jason is Beth McDougall. So if you have a chance, check out Jason. They're right next to the Vasper Systems. True Binding. Anyone check out True Binding? No, that's all right. Echo Me and Human Longevity. Human Longevity is out there. All right, are you guys ready? Did I stall long enough? All right, come on up, sir. Can we turn on his microphone? It's coming.
All right.
All right, welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much. So I know that it's hard to be the closing act, but I do think that closing a discussion about longevity would not be complete if we didn't really think about why we want to live longer. What is the meaning and the purpose of a longer life? And what is the value of that longer life for us and for those that we love and we care about? Well, those have been questions that I've been asking myself for my entire life. My name is Victor Pineda, and I've dedicated my life to unlocking human potential. I do that with 3 different ways. Primarily as a policymaker, I've helped shape policies around the world and helped negotiate the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. That treaty has touched the lives of 1 billion people. Thank you. The second area that I'd like to make an impact is on innovation. What does it mean to drive inclusive innovation so that innovation is not just about optimizing any particular outcome, but optimizing human functionings, human capabilities, and human agency. So with that, I've supported startups and investments across the world that help enhance human functioning through assistive technology and other areas. And the third area that I like to work on is on research, teaching, and training. And that's because through my work at the University of California, Berkeley, I've realized that we're not going to get to a future that really unlocks human meaning unless we change the way that we think. We can't just retrofit a building. We have to retrofit our own thoughts and our own sense of self. So I do that through the work of my foundation. I do that through university partnerships and partnerships with the large companies. There's a fun video that I think you'll enjoy seeing. And this is a movie that I made during the pandemic. So let's light it up. Let's have some fun. And then I'll come back and tell you a little bit about how I think we can put this into practice. A little louder. A little louder.
We made our bed, gotta count the threats. Burn our bread till the wolves are fed. Catch me if you can. Simon says, gotta stand on my head. Gotta take a mess, find a woman away. Catch me if you can. Catch me. If you can, you're chasing my tail, I'm already a hero. So are you. Catch me if you can.
Yeah, that night had a lot of fun with that video. You might know that from Scooby Doo. That is Shaggy from Scooby Doo. And we met at a retreat for innovators and change makers and folks that really wanted to understand what's beyond just living a regular life. It's about how do you live an extraordinary life. And the conversation that we had was, you've heard the phrase, it's not the years in your life, but the life in your years. And I've literally rolled up the stage today, coming from UCSF at the intensive care unit, where my dear, dear friend, Professor Anna J. Vadia, a renowned professor of philosophy, is currently right now transitioning. He is ending his fight with cancer. And they are literally right now surrounded by family and friends with him as he is ending this chapter of his existence. So I do want to ask you to send a few seconds of love and prayer to somebody that's really impacted my life. And that is Anand Vadia, who's transitioning right now. So just join me to give him love and prayer and honor the fact that he's lived an incredible life and touched a lot of people. You see, Anand asked me on our last dinner together to remind all of you that our lives are not our own. We are all bound to each other, and we're all bound and connected to those around us. But we can't just live this life being busy. We have to have meaning and purpose. And what that means is we have to have a sense of the one or two things that are essential. And be sure to remember the difference between what is essential and what is trivial. So I thought a lot about what I could share with you today that could be essential and things that I could say that could be trivial. So I'm going to try to skip the trivial things and get down to the essentials. This talk is labeled Intention for a Life with Purpose and Meaning, and what that journey is to me. And I'll share that in 3 stages. Tell you a little bit about my journey, and tell you a little bit about what I see in the world, and I'll tell you a little bit about what actions we can take together. In terms of my journey today, I was born in Venezuela in the late 70s, and I was systematically told by the doctors, by the schools, that I had no place in this world. My muscles were weak. I couldn't get an education. I wasn't going to get a job. I wasn't going to form a family. And that if I was lucky, I would live till I was 14. So immediately, I felt like a dirty pair of shoes, something to be discarded. But it wasn't until my mother had the courage and fortitude to find a new environment, a place that I could grow. And she stumbled upon, by happen chance, to enroll me from Venezuela. So we got to Orange County in California, and I attended Roy O. Anderson Elementary School. And the first day of school, Mrs. Deering asked all the kids to raise their hand if they wanted to volunteer to help me get to the cafeteria. She said, whoever volunteers to help Victor, at that time I had a manual wheelchair, not this fancy electric wheelchair. She said, whoever volunteers to help Victor get to the cafeteria gets an extra 15 minutes of playtime. So all the kids raised their hand, and I was the most popular kid in school. Now that was a little bit of, didn't cost the school any more money to create this inclusive environment. But it did create the conditions for me to feel like I belonged there. Like there was a reason for me to be there, that I wasn't a burden. I wasn't a liability. I wasn't a cost to that school and that community, but rather that I could be an asset. And there was something inherently valuable in the way that I saw my life and the way that I could potentially share that insights with others. So fast forward from being denied an education to then attending UC Berkeley, getting a PhD, and teaching at some of the world's most prestigious universities. Not bad. Not bad for a story of transformation. So that human potential, that's in each one of us. Those moments of transformation aren't unique to me. And that was in the second part of my talk, which is really about what is the state of the world today. Look, we have fought across so many areas to create a world that provides more dignity, opportunity, freedom, choice, and agency, but we continue to get in our own way. But by that I mean is that, a child with a disability, an older person, any of you in this room, would look out and have an image of what your life could look like. But the disability community really doesn't discriminate. We're the only minority group that anybody can join at any time. Like, we're an equal opportunity employer. Like, you can join this community and have a gift of having a new perspective. What would your life look like if you weren't able to see? What would your life look like if you had difficulty hearing? What would your life look like if you needed somebody to help you eat and dress, or a machine to help you move around and breathe? Those changes aren't inherently bad. They're only bad if you show up into a society that rejects that difference. They're only bad if you can't walk and you face a world that says, if you don't cure yourself, you don't belong in society. The only way for you to fit in is to be able to have normative functioning of your arms, normative functioning of your legs, normative functioning of your lungs, normative functioning of your eyes, and anything else, you're abnormal. You're a medical abnormality, and your life is not worth living. So just check out. Do us all a favor and go hide, because we don't want to see that. We don't want to be confronted with the discomfort of our own of our own living vulnerability. But we are a living vulnerability. When you look up on Google, what is being human? Besides being part of the same species, the second definition is susceptible to vulnerability. So what the hell are we doing at this conference? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to escape vulnerability of human condition? Are we trying to deny the fact that we have vulnerabilities? whether we could counter a disability or a challenge? Or are we trying to find something deeper about meaning and purpose and joy and human connection and intimacy and love and love? Because that's what it's all about. So I see a world that's facing multiple conflicting crises, polarized. Our mortality and our life expectancy in the US for the first time is going down. Our morbidity is going up. There's a loneliness epidemic. We are not in a place where we are collectively thriving. And yet, we live with anxiety and medication and mental health challenges. And our next generation, Generation Z, has anxiety that's off the chart. Social anxiety amongst adolescents today have never been measured at these rates as they are today. So why live longer if we're just fucking it all up? Right? But there is hope. And the hope is that those in this room that are investors, those in this room that are innovators, those in this room that are mobilizing your human resources, your intellectual property, can drive forward a collective capabilities to truly unlock human potential, not just to extend life. A potential that's based on meaningful interactions, a potential that's based on thriving, collective thriving, not individual thriving. Not just for those that can afford it, but how do we collectively create conditions for a meaningful life? So I want to share that there is a way to get there. And I'll give you 3 assignments. Because I am a professor, I like to give homework assignments. And that is very simple. Number 1, ask yourself the question, what makes my life worth living? What brings me joy? Joseph Campbell in The Hero's Journey, the hero of 1,000 faces says, find your bliss and move toward it. Because by doing so, doors will open where there otherwise were no doors. Number 1. What makes your life worth living? And then a corollary, what is your bliss? For a lot of my friends, it's sports and activity. Others, it's art. My grandmother is 90 years old. She smokes, she drinks, and she eats a lot of carbs and sugar. And I said, Grandma, what's the secret to your life? She's like, music, right? So that frequency, that energy she feels her. She doesn't give a fuck about the carbs. Okay? Number two, how can you transform your vulnerability into a strength? Big question. Whether it's thinking that you are X and try to transform that from something that you're ashamed of to something that you are proud of. My muscles are weak. but I can lift you all up with just a few words. That's strength. You know, this machine is helping me take a deep breath. You know, and I remember when I was a summer associate in DC right after grad school at the US Treasury, and we would go out and there were all these cute girls, but I was having a hard time breathing during the day, and I'm like, oh my God, if I put this thing on my face, you know, maybe I'll look ugly. I'm like, you know what? You're a lot more attractive when you have energy. You can tell jokes. Can be super charming. Who cares? They're looking at a lot of other things. This is not going to take anything away. It's going to give you something more. It's going to give you more life, more energy. So that was a simple transformation. And I use my experience as a person with significant disabilities as an asset, not as a liability. So that second point, I ask you, what are your areas of shame or guilt or fear or sorrow, and challenge you to see what insights and knowledge and purpose you can drive from that instead of hiding from it. Be proud. Come out of the closet, if you will, of whatever it is you're hiding and be your full self. And that's number 2. And number 3, consider the transformative power of presence. And by that I mean, sit with yourself or sit with others very different from you and see the humanity, see the dignity, feel them, feel yourself feeling them. Create an understanding of what unlocking human potential really means. It's about connection. It's about shared purpose. It's about being seen and being heard. And then you can be remembered and celebrated. If we do that collectively with enough people, we can navigate through this climate crisis. We can navigate through these political divisions. We can navigate through resource distributions. We can navigate through these technological disruptions and revolutions so that AI isn't a threat to humanity, but an effective enabler of human well-being. So those are the 3 things I want to remind you. Number 1, what makes your life worth living? And perhaps what and with who is your life worth living? That's the corollary there. Number 2, how do you transform your vulnerability into a strength? And number 3, how do you be empowered? How can you unlock the power of presence and love to create purpose? And that purpose collectively will get us through the darkness and towards the light. Thank you very much.
That was amazing, brother. I really appreciate that.
Did you want to do a question and answer?
Sure. Why don't we take a couple questions from the audience? That was really magical.
Look at that.
Yeah. So please feel free to raise your hand, and we can have somebody in the audience.
Nick and I became friends. Because we realized that we both had a shared purpose, which is to bring communities together and get a chance to get to know each other. And so I got to know him, he got to know me, and I realized that together there was something that we can unlock for our community here. And so he asked me to join, and I said yes, so I could be with you. So I'm here.
And unfortunately for me, you're a lot funnier than I am, so I appreciate you having us. Let's have you.
So I just want to begin by saying thank you for helping us unlock our purpose today, because I have to tell you that you've poured into our lives and souls in the last few minutes more than a lot of us have done maybe in quite a bit of time. So thank you for that. You filled my cup today, yes. And hopefully, and I guarantee you we're going to take that and then we're going to fill other people's cups when we leave.
You better do that.
So promise.
Otherwise, you're in trouble.
But I do want to know, of all the places that you have visited, what has been the most beautiful, magical place? Why?
Thank you. I have the great fortune to have become a global ambassador for disability rights. And in 2008, I was asked by Save the Children to do a workshop in a magical place called Yemen. And after traveling to 80 countries, I arrived to Yemen and I literally feel like I've been transported in time, in space, and these kids were incredible. Fatima was 9 years old. And she stood up just like you did right now, picked up the microphone, and the first thing she said is, Dr. Victor, now that you came to visit us, even the flowers are smiling. And I realized, this place, Yemen, has gone through so much hardship. There are when I went, the population was 20 million people, and there were 60 million handguns. But there was hope, and there was joy, and really good food, and incredibly rich cultures, like the Jewish diaspora, Jewish traditions in Yemen, multiple layers, the Greater Shiva. So I'd say any place in the world has their hidden treasures. But Yemen was one of those that really kind of brought that up. We also visited a refugee camp, so we got a chance to interact with kids from Somalia, Eritrea, and Sudan that sought refuge in Yemen. So imagine how difficult their lives were to go to Yemen and try to find refuge. So these are some things. Sometimes human vulnerability, allows us to understand kind of human resilience as well. So Yemen would be the place.
You talked a little bit about accessibility, and I think that's a neat dovetail to maybe share a little bit about what you've done with Amsterdam and using technology.
Cool.
Yeah.
I am. For the last 7 years, I've been a member of the World Economic Forum's Global Future Council on the Connected World. And one of the colleagues at the forum is the CTO of the city of Amsterdam. And about 4 years ago, when the pandemic started, he said, we've got a really cool AI team at the city. And we've been using it to sort of predict, public spaces where you could walk down the sidewalk, but you would also have a 6 feet of distance, social distancing. Can we do that same thing to make the city more accessible? So we started to leverage machine vision to map out the entire city and identify accessibility barriers throughout sidewalks and curb cuts and entrances to restaurants and shops and things like that. And the city was able to create a working prototype that would save the world millions of dollars. You can basically have a 90% effective rate of auditing pedestrian walkways so that women with baby carriages and older people, people in wheelchairs, and even delivery robots could have access to public rights of way.
How can the community here support you and what you're building with the Center for Inclusive Living?
Yes. So I have joined I'm executive director of the country's first Center for Independent Living. There have subsequently been 400 of these community centers funded throughout the country. And it really is a place for community innovation, peer support, direct services, housing, healthcare, employment skills for people with disabilities. And I would love to have partners think about what it means to reinvest, to engage, to learn from this community instead of just forget that we exist. So I really want to, I have a couple of things I wanted to put on the screen, but I'm not sure if we have those resources. What I do want to say is that after the event is a follow-up, you might get an email. You'll be able to learn more about ways that you can be involved with the things that we're doing. But I think ultimately finding a way to be of service is another way to have a meaningful life. And I really encourage just servant leadership and service as a way to make that longer life matter.
You're going to be around for a little bit longer for
Yes.
today too? Okay, awesome. Well, let's give another round of applause for Dr. Ricky.
I want to thank you, Nick, because this is what makes a life worth living, is being in community, bringing people together, and creating shared meaning. And you do that with your podcast, you do that with your events. And I do that also with my team. So let me just introduce my team, because I am nothing without the people that support me. And primarily that's Dr. Serida. Can you stand up, Serida Catalano, please? Serida. David. And Philip. Philip is over there. And so we have a variety of ways to be involved. The work we do on education with the foundation is very impactful, but also new investments and new opportunities to commercialize assistive technologies is an area that I really want to focus on. So those are places to collaborate.
I want to connect you with Vinod Kosa's wife. I think she could do some cool
Please.
stuff. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I need some help. Can somebody help me get down?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we hold that till after, because I want to make sure we see Anna. Sure.
Because you are simply amazing.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Just finish close with a sentence for each and one of us who have our struggles.
Yeah.
That are first world country struggles. What can we remember? Sentence.
The very simple sentence is that we choose not what happens to us. We choose how we respond.
All right, great. Thank you so much for that wonderful heartfelt talk. So we do have Natalie Golba and Irina Swan that are also going to share some wonderful stuff with us around how to have a healthier life, around the food that we ingest and sustainability as well. So the healthy chefs, please come on up. Wonderful to have you both.
Hello. 8 billion people eat every single day. Food is the most desired commodity of humanity. Yet we know so little about nutrition, and very often we are getting the wrong information. My confusion started at early age. I come from a family of 4 generations of doctors and believe in science and facts. However, in my own family, everyone was teaching me different things about nutrition. It was very confusing, but now I'm used to it. We often listen to people who don't even know how to read scientific papers and interpret them to their liking or taste preferences.
The truth is that we all eat, male, female, kids, adults, blondes, brunettes, we all eat. So the food should actually unite us, but it divides us as maybe even more than politics.
The debate about the best food for longevity is continuing to grow. But let's look into the data. Let's look at the people, what people eat who live to 100 and more. 90 to 96% whole food, plant-based. If you haven't heard of Blue Zones yet, watch the documentary on Netflix, Live to 100, A Secret of Blue Zones. Dan Buettner, the founder of Blue Zones, traveled for years with National Geographic around the world looking for centenarians. He found the areas in the world where people live to 100, more people live to 100 than in other regions. Then he compared their results with the people in the same region who die younger.
A little spoiler alert, unfortunately, there were carnivores found among centenarians living in Blue Zones.
One of my personal favorite scientists, Professor Christopher Gardner, he's the head of nutrition science at Stanford. He just did a fascinating study on 22 pairs of identical twins. And one of the twin would be fed whole food plant-based diet. Another one would be fed with a professionally designed healthy omnivore diet. With identical genetics, they couldn't blame their difference on anything but a diet. And within just 8 weeks, the results were astonishing. Those following the plant-based diet showed 20% improvement in fasting insulin levels. They also saw a significant reduction in LDL cholesterol, which we call bad cholesterol, and achieved greater weight loss compared to their omnivorous twins. Finally, to add to the list of benefits, those on plant-based diet experienced telomere lengthening, a sign of cellular regeneration and slowed aging. All these remarkable shifts happened in just 2 months. Even in such short time, diet showed its power over aging at the cellular level. And what about the most studied human on earth, how he claimed himself, Brian Johnson? His diet is 100% plant-based. So the proof whether it is possible or not expand your health span on a plant-based diet is undeniable. But how do we do it? Hi, my name is Natalie Golba. I'm 38 and I look and feel better than ever. I'm a plant-based chef with certifications from Harvard Medical School, Stanford Medicine, and Cornell University. My areas of expertise include culinary medicine, medicinal plants, and meal plan development. For the last 6 years, I worked as a private chef and nutrition advisor for top-performing athletes and Hollywood celebrities. I help those who have tried everything and it didn't work. But I wanted to reach beyond celebrity kitchens. Together with leading health innovators, I developed an evidence-based nutrition system that is easy to follow for the rest of your life.
My name is Arina Swan. I'm 33, but biological age is 27. I'm a tech entrepreneur and co-founder of Healthiest Chef. And I suffered with gut health issues my entire life. I was living with chronic pain, stress, anxiety, and it's funny, but I thought it comes from some stressful event back in my childhood that I don't remember. But God, I was wrong. So Natalie embarked on a journey of saving me with dietitians. And that's when I realized it's really, really hard. They give you all those requirements. You have to remove gluten, so no more pizza and pasta. Okay, whole food, plant-based, organic ingredients, 30 plus plants per week. How do you even do that? Especially if you've never cooked before. So we believe that everyone can become his own or her own healthiest chef. And we designed the program for complete beginners in the kitchen like myself. The idea is that in 2 hours, you can make the meals for the entire week that cover all your microbiome needs. And the result is that it removed all the anxiety and stress from my life, and it had nothing to do with childhood trauma. And I think the biggest bonus, of course, is the taste, right? Because in order for something to stick, it needs to be tasty and enjoyable. Actually, 90 to 95% of serotonin, so-called hormone of happiness, is produced in the gut. So we want to keep that. So what I can say about this food is it's hard to believe it's plant-based and actually good for you.
Healthy food is a basic human need. Over the years, we've learned that regular resistant training, resistant exercise will result in muscle. And if you like to chill on the couch, that's probably not going to bring you a six-pack. It's time to take care of our nutrition and food choices. In just one weekend, our students achieved results we couldn't hope for. Changing someone's habits is tough. Yet, our program successfully built in new habits and changed routine of our students. Our students lost undesired weight and saw improvement in their skin, nails, and hair quality. They improved digestion and quality of sleep, which increased their energy level at work. More importantly, they built bonds with their loved ones and created new tradition, making delicious, healthy food on the weekend together and sharing new memories, laying the foundation for healthier habits that will benefit future generations of their families, creating a legacy of wellness that lasts.
Well, if you would like to try the food, if you'd like to learn more about whole food plant-based, you're also welcome to reach us at healthiestchef.com. Again, healthiestchef.com, or feel free to talk to us after this panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Wonderful, much appreciated for the excellent talk. And you'll both be around if folks have questions as well. Beautiful, beautiful, great. Well, so for our next and final guest, Miss Emily Hu, she's got more than just powerlifting records, right? She's also has a really inspiring story in how to have mental resilience and make sure that we stay in a place of gratitude and focus. And so I'm really excited to have Emily on the stage here. So Emily, please come take it away.
Hi, everyone. So welcome to the Power of Food and Movement. I am Emily Hu, and let us start by saying, who is Emily and why are you listening to me? So a brief list of my credentials, so you don't think I'm just some charlatan, like trying to scam you with knowledge. I have a master's in biomedical engineering from Duke. I have a nutrition certification from Cornell. I spent the last 15 years in clinical research, mostly in medical device startups. Relevant spaces that I've done clinical research would be orthopedics, cardiology, diabetes, physical medicine, nutrition, health, and wellness. I was the lead researcher for an orthopedics device for pain management. I was also the clinical lead at Google Life Sciences, also known as Verily, and I helped them get a 510K clearance for their wearable health and fitness tracker with EKG. These days, I work at Unilever Health and Wellness at Nutrafol, one of their portfolio companies, and I run clinical trials there. And on the side, I'm also a clinical consultant, advisor, angel investor, and LP in a medtech health tech fund. But more importantly, while doing all of this, I was until last year a professional powerlifter, where I broke 4 all-time world records in powerlifting, all while having a full-time job. Now, before I tell you how I did this, let's review the benefits of exercise. I think we all know that exercise is very good for you, but I think a lot of people don't know why intense strength training is very good for you. So let's go over some immediate benefits of intense strength training, such as powerlifting, such as bodybuilding, maybe Olympic weightlifting. The first benefit we see are the hormones. We see an acute increase in the good things like growth hormone, testosterone. That's also good for women too. This supports muscle growth, recovery. It also increases our dopamine and enhances our mood and focus while reducing cortisol, our stress hormone. And then also acutely, working out improves your insulin sensitivity. Using your muscles uses your blood sugar. So this is good for reducing type 2 diabetes. So that's in the short term. Now, in the long term, having a lot of muscle mass is actually good for your heart. It reduces your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your risk of cardiovascular disease. Once again, it's good for your metabolic health, prevents diabetes. Muscles are a big glucose sink. So just having muscle on your body makes you more insulin sensitive. This is good. increased bone and muscle strength. I think that one's obvious. But it also prevents age-related decline like osteoporosis, makes you less susceptible to falls. And then just in general, intense exercise is correlated with longevity. So sweating it out makes you live longer and reduces your chance of chronic diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's. Okay, so then those are the benefits of strength training. Now I want to tell you a personal story of how I got into strength training. So for me, physical health started off as mental health. Once upon a time, I was 26 years old. I had undiagnosed ADHD. I was working at a startup, and I did not have good coping mechanisms for startup life. I was stressed out, and as a result, I was 15 pounds heavier than I was the day I started at that startup. I did not like the way I looked. Like many people, I joined a gym, and I hired a personal trainer because I wanted to lose weight. And that was how I learned how to weightlift. So I discovered that really, really intense weightlifting, like 1 rep maxing, helped me relieve work stress. It was the best outlet I'd ever had for work stress. I would go into the gym, I'd feel very anxious, very upset, and then I would be forced to meditate. If I thought about anything during the lift, if I thought about how angry I was at work, if I thought about how anxious I would miss the lift. Certain moves, this is very dangerous. So weightlifting forced me to meditate. It forced me to learn how to clear my mind. And at first, it was great because it helped me learn how to weightlift. But over time, it was actually much better because it actually helped me learn how to meditate, how to alleviate symptoms of depression, ADHD, stress, and anxiety without needing meds. So it just became a very healthy mental health mechanism along with a physical health improvement. So what was the result? The result was I went from working at a startup, being a nerd, to still working at a startup, being a nerd. But at the age of 30, I also became an elite athlete. So growing up, I had no formal sports background. I never competed in any sports, wasn't even on a sports team. So you could imagine how crazy everyone thought I was when at the age of 30, I decided I wanted to enter a powerlifting competition. It actually went insanely well. My first powerlifting competition, I managed to break every state record in my division. And that was the first time I'd been best in state in anything, so I stuck with it. I continued on for 3 years, all while still working a full-time job. And by the age of 33, I had broken 3 unique all-time world records. Thank you. Despite being so old, I continued to actually break records year after year until last year. So now in my 40s, I still break world records. And now I have 4 unique all-time world records while holding my full-time job in clinical research. So professionally, this has opened a lot of doors for me. And also, from a powerlifting standpoint, it's opened a lot of doors as an athlete. I got professional sponsorships. I got speaking gigs. I was on a TV show with The Rock. Look at my abs. All right. Okay, so, but putting it all together, besides the very obvious things of, hiring a nutritionist, hiring a coach, it is very hard to become a professional athlete at 30. I think there were certain things that helped me succeed in powerlifting, despite my age and despite my lack of experience. And I really think it was actually my professional experience in science and biomedical research. So understanding human movement, I think, was number 1 for me picking up any powerlifting technique. Working in orthopedics and physical medicine gave me a very good understanding of how the knees should move and how they shouldn't move. This helped me prevent a lot of injuries, and this helped me maintain really healthy joints throughout the entire course of my career. Second one was applying nutrition research. I'm pretty happy I got that cert at Cornell because it allowed me to become my own nutritionist. Powerlifting is a weight class sport. You want to be as strong as possible while weighing as little as possible. So I was able to manage my own nutrition, eat the proper foods so that I could still lose weight while getting strong. And then the next was I had the good fortune of working at Google while they were trying to make health and fitness wearables. So I don't actually wear a wearable, but I know if I did, I know exactly what metrics would count and what I would not really care about. And I'll be honest, when it comes to athletic performance, I'd really say most wearables do not give good data. Okay, so as a result, I was fitter at 35 than 25. I would show you a before photo, but I've had them all destroyed. This is the after. At 25, I had terrible eating habits. I still do, but I manage them actively now. I had terrible stress reduction habits. Now I have the gym to reduce stress. But I think the key takeaway is, whether you're 35 or 25 or 45, you can greatly improve your health and fitness dramatically at any age. As an adult, it is much harder. There's stress, there's responsibilities, there's commuting, there's kids. But I found that the best lifestyle upgrades when I was really busy were actually quite simple, and they paid off in spades. So the first, and this is the hardest, avoid alcohol. It's not great for your physique. It's not great for your workouts. It's not good for your sleep or your mood. Similar reasons, avoid processed foods. I think these are pretty obvious. The next one is fiber is so underrated. Eating fiber, adding it as a regular part of my diet, eating it before my meals, helped me lose so much weight and help me maintain weight loss. Sleep is king. Once you are over the age of 25, nothing will wreck you worse than not sleeping enough. So get adequate sleep. If you had to pick between sleeping a full night and waking up early to work out, get the sleep. Proper nutrition, supplementation, and recovery are key at this age. And then most importantly, you don't have to do everything perfectly. 80% effort can still yield great results. I was a professional powerlifter while I had a full-time job. I was not 100% in anything at that moment in time. I think at best, I did the best I could at work, which was maybe a B+ job. And then sometimes that meant I had to do a B- work at the gym. And that also meant that my nutrition wasn't 100%. I wanted to have a social life. I still wanted to be able to eat out with friends. So I did the best I could in everything. And I think 80% got me pretty close to the results I would have gotten at 100% effort. Okay, so getting strong as an old athlete. Unfortunately, I think we all know this, in strength sports, in a lot of sports, maybe in life, being over 30 is a huge disadvantage. As we get older, our muscle mass, our strength declines, primarily due to the reduction in our hormones. But with the right strategies, anyone, even people 30 and over, can improve their strength and performance. And here are some tips that I found were really easy and safe to implement into my life. So the first one was having the right diet. If you're trying to get buff, you're trying to get strong, you need adequate protein. I think as we try to seek a healthier lifestyle, a lot of people think protein is the enemy. Protein is not necessarily the enemy. I think balance, with a proper balance, you can get a lot of protein and still have a healthy life. So when picking protein, pick something that's highly bioavailable, which would be lean meats, eggs, protein powder, soy. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, you're gonna have to be more strategic. A lot of things like nuts are not highly bioavailable, neither are beans. So just pick and choose wisely, maybe supplement with some protein powder. Don't go carb-free. I think carbs have easily become the enemy of this decade. If you are trying to get strong, you're gonna need carbs. A lot of people will say, well, I do keto, or I do high protein. If you are doing an intense workout, that is not enough energy alone for your workout. For a regular diet, if you wanna do a fad diet, for a regular lifestyle, if you want to have a fad diet, that may be a good way to lose weight. If you are trying to get strong, a fad diet such as keto, a juice cleanse, or intermittent fasting is not the best way. It's insanely inefficient for powering your workouts. So I would say try to stick to, do not eliminate any food groups. You need a mix of carbs, protein, and fat. Right? So the most important thing for us aging athletes is supplementation. When you are old, you are inflamed, you're not going to recover. So here are some things that I think really helped me, and they're also very scientifically proven and safe, and they do a good job in improving workout performance, recovery, or reducing inflammation. So for my pre-workout, I took creatine, that improves explosive energy, and then I also took a mix of collagen. Collagen is very useful for skin, bone, tendon repair, but more importantly, it's very good lubrication for your joints. So it helped me move under the barbell very comfortably. Next, fish oil. That was for reducing inflammation. Same with turmeric. For a lot of people, if you have a healthy diet, you don't need to take extra vitamins and minerals. If you are putting your body through the ringer every day at the gym, you may need some additional supplementation. If you are vegan, you might want to consider extra calcium, iron, and zinc to help you get through the workouts. And then for other people, if you're putting your body through a lot, you might want extra magnesium, vitamin C, D, and K for your recovery. I think nootropics are very popular right now. I've taken them occasionally. I don't really love most of them. I think the one that works the best, it's the cheapest to get, easiest to find, is caffeine. A lot of good research behind it. If you want to take a nootropic, other nootropics that people like, and there's pretty positive research behind, are rhodiola, Nupep, Bacopa Monnieri, and Alpha GPC. These will help you focus in the gym. Not needed, but some people really love the effect. Greens powder, nice but not necessary. You'd probably be better off eating just a healthy diet with a lot of greens. You'd probably get more of your nutrition and vitamins that way. And then adaptogens, sure, if they work for you. So I take ashwagandha. It's reported to reduce cortisol. It does not work for everyone. For a lot of people, when the adaptogens work, they work really well. Ashwagandha is a really popular one right now. Adaptogenic mushrooms like cordyceps, reishi, chaga, lion's mane, also very popular. And then holy basil is another plant that's also very safe and helps reduce anxiety for a lot of people. Okay, so besides supplementation, what else can we do? Well, strength hacks for the busy adults. I think for a lot of people, the idea of how do you get stronger, how do I make my own workouts, seems kind of intimidating. So if you're trying to strength train, here's a rubric to help you keep it as simple as possible. Think 4, 5, or 6. You know, I get asked, how many days a week should I work out? How many exercises should I do? How many sets should I do? How many reps should I do? The answer for everything is exactly the same. 4, 5, or 6. You can work out 4, 5, 6 days a week. You can do 4 to 6 exercises, 4 to 6 sets, 4 to 6 reps. Pick your combination. Whatever combination you pick, these numbers are pretty good for the hypertrophy of the fast twitch muscles, which are the muscles that get you very strong. They will also help work out the fastest twitch muscles, which are your explosive strength. So when in doubt and very lazy, this is a good rubric. Prioritize compound movements. Barbell movements like squat, deadlift, bench press give you the best bang for your buck. If you do a 5 by 5 of that, even if you just do that, that's a great workout. But then you could supplement it with some extra exercises. Okay, so this routine specifically for building strength. If you want a general fitness routine, if you want something for cardiovascular or to lose weight, might look a little different. Okay, so I'm out of time, but final lessons, it's never too late to start. You can get stronger, healthier, smarter, better at anything, but start now and start smart. So I would say hire the best help, right? We're all busy adults. Time is money. Mentorship and expertise matter. Get results quicker and safer by hiring the best. Don't waste time on trial and error. You may save a few bucks, but is it worth it if you blow out your back trying to learn how to deadlift on your own? I think I got the best results without ever getting injured because from day one, I hired the best people I could find. My trainer was a renowned world record holder in the sport, and all my nutritionists before I became one, they all had PhDs in nutrition. So hire the best. Over time, you will learn from them and you won't need them for that long. Long-term consistency trumps perfection. Like I said, 80% every day can give some really good results. 80% every day for 2 years is better than 100% like 3 times for 5 months. Same, incremental improvements yield big improvements. And then lastly, never stop getting strong. Strength is foundational. Physical strength begets mental strength and vice versa. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Emily. So I had a couple of quick questions for you. It sounded like your journey was motivation, like internally motivated. Did you also have folks that were helping you as like a mentor or that kind of coached you along through this process?
You know, besides my coach who taught me actually how to lift weights, not really. So this actually was a very formative journey for me because, you know, trying to be like an engineer or trying to work in Silicon Valley, there are a lot of how-tos. You can probably easily figure it out from doing what someone else did. But trying to be the first female powerlifter who benched 300 pounds at 120 pounds, literally no one had done it before me. So I had to figure out how to do it myself.
Is that kind of what attracted you to squats and deadlifts? Because it was kind of like a path that hasn't really been blazed
I think
yet?
so, yeah. I mean, it felt nice to be really good at something so strange.
And how can folks connect with you? I mean, aside from this QR code.
My email is also here, and you can find me floating around. Yeah.
We got a detective in the house. Great. Well, awesome. Emily, thank you so much for a great, wonderful talk and great to have you. That concludes our programming. Wonderful to have everybody. They want to give a shout out to CPI, so Career Pathways International. These are the folks that volunteered at the front, so and all around today. So let's give them a big round of applause. And Market Me More, these guys are fantastic, and they flew out all the way from Florida and brought a wonderful contingency. So excited for these guys. And thank you again for having everybody. Please enjoy the after party that's sponsored by Market Me More, and go make some friends. Thank you guys. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.